good. Back in session. We're on page 1.
And Wayne had a,
I believe Matt had a question.
Matt and
I do. Well, Wayne and I both do, but I'll ask it.
Okay.
It was something Wayne and I came to our attention while we were at break.
Okay.
The vote was to raise the property card, the dump card, I'm sorry, trash card. From disposal card, there you go.
Yep.
Use proper terminology here.
Yeah.
From 160 to 180 prior to the break. But are you gonna leave the business card unchanged? And are you gonna leave the elderly card unchanged? Because they're charged at different rates.
for sure, the elderly, I would say.
I would not touch the elderly card.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeking
What is
clarification.
The business is 207.
If you're gonna raise
You're gonna raise-
the regular cards $20, are you gonna do, I just wanna know what your intention is for
That's a very
everybody
good
else.
question.
I would say, yeah.
Well,
I'm not the
I'm
elderly.
not the
I'm
elderly
not in
guy.
favor of raising the elderly card. I have no problem
With the business.
on the business card.
Yeah,
being
that's what
paid.
I'm saying, business.
And my only suggestion to that would be keep in mind, your businesses have just gone through hell.
I know, I know.
But so has a
I
lot of
know,
people too.
I know.
Yep.
But your businesses, I think, especially a lot of your,
And I bet Carrie would not know how many business cards.
No, I don't know what's
That
in
we
there.
wouldn't normally have access to that number. I don't really have a problem with leaving both of them where they are. I don't. I would never touch the elderly one, but I don't have any problem leaving the business card where it's at. Because what we've done has closed that gap. And if that does that.
Is those business cards in that 8,500 or 9,500?
taxing the individual.
And how many business cards are there?
I don't.
I don't have a problem either.
I mean, in theory, if you raise it on the businesses, you're raising it on the taxpayers again too, because the businesses would probably pass that cost down.
Yeah.
So, but,
I
I'm
agree.
just
I
telling,
agree. Well,
I'm
then
just
just leave it. Just
seeking
leave it.
clarification.
Right.
And I think you
I'm not
probably
deal-
need to state it for the record.
I
do.
agree, I agree. Then
Okay.
leave-
So we
leave
need
the
to do
business
another
and the
motion,
elderly
guys?
alone.
Well, at
To
least
state that
a
we-
point of clarification is that we're not going to adjust the elderly or the business disposal card fee.
So it's purely on regular residential.
Yes.
Would you like to get Sam on the phone for clarification of your questions, or you're good?
I'm good unless somebody else wants.
He may not have that exact number off the top of his head either. But it's a good question, guys.
It's good leaving them.
Donnie, you don't think we need to do any other action other than by
No, I
consent?
mean, your motion and vote was to raise 160 to 180,
Yeah.
so everything else stays the same.
Okay, so as long as we're legally good, I'm good. Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, clarification.
We're cool.
Thank you.
Just curious if
Never thought of
any
that.
changes.
Next issue with that first page, gentlemen?
So my issue with the first page is, and I alluded to this previously, is we have crafted this budget based on a collection rate of 92.5%.
That's correct.
Okay. Last year's collection rate, if I'm not mistaken, was 94.5. I don't understand why we're not using that as our benchmark. I do understand that the thought is because of the financial difficulties recently that maybe some people aren't going to pay their taxes. I would think, I would still think that we're going to come in somewhere close to 94.5 because the people who are paying their taxes now are the same type of people that are going to figure out a way to pay their taxes because that's what good people do. I know there might be a very small percentage of people who don't pay their taxes that probably genuinely cannot afford to pay them. But the simple fact of the matter is a lot of people just choose not to pay them. And so this isn't my comments are not directed towards the people who genuinely cannot pay.
Understood.
But I don't see giving a 2% free pass, or giving a free pass to another 2% of the population. And I know that's not what we're doing, but in theory, on paper, that's what we kind of are. So my suggestion, and would solve a good bit of our budget shortfall in one swoop, would be to take the property tax collection rate and base our budget on the rate that we are currently collecting taxes at.
Well, but I'll have to.
By my
make-
calculations, that'd be $231,000 plus.
Yeah, and I'll make another observation because we've discussed this before, that we are going to return immediately to a more affirmative back tax collection policy. This group has discussed that, and for a while, we've not been as firm as we were, and we've all discussed that and agreed that we're going to start addressing these back taxes that have started easing up on us again. And you put those two factors together.
Well, there's $2
I
million.
know the reason Mark figured it, he's explained to us.
And I understand that.
To be conservative and be safe.
And I understand his thoughts behind doing that.
Yeah.
But when we're faced with a tax increase as a result, my personal preference is that we hold people to the same expectations that we've been holding them to and that they've been living up to. And then anything in addition that we collect at that point, for lack of a better term, is gravy.
Well, it helps build that reserve that we know
Correct.
is so breathtaking and
I just
small.
don't want to get back to where the state's saying we got our 8%, we're at 10 and we got a 2% cushion there. I mean, with not knowing, the COVID may go away, who knows? But when we get back to the winter, when it comes back and we're shut down for 2, 3, 4 months, we can't come back in here in November, December and say, oh, shit, we're out of money.
Yeah, but
We
there's
can't-
$2 million
we can't-
owed in back taxes.
Right, and I agree,
So-
but we can't, and y'all done a good job getting back taxes. You did collecting them, but you can't depend on that every year.
No, we can't depend on it. That's why those back taxes that we collected went to one-time projects.
Yes.
Right.
Those didn't go towards
Ongoing.
balancing the budget.
Right.
Those went into reserve fund to use as on one-time projects.
Yeah, but
Or
what-
needs,
but what that did do was help to drive the general collection rate up.
Correct.
And I see Donnie
That's right.
nodding. And it's just like anything else. When you've got a bunch of freeloaders in a community or a bunch of people, whatever, and it's like, other people will tag on to that. Once they know that they can't tag on to that, then that's Matt's point. More of the responsible folks are just, they're gonna make sure it gets paid. And it goes together.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it hasn't been too long ago when Madison County's collection rate was 90%, or, just a slight above that. I think that the economic times are such that I don't think that people don't pay their taxes as a general rule just because they don't want to pay them. I think that most people don't pay their taxes because they don't have the money. And so what I'm concerned with the 12.5% unemployment rate in Madison County is that a lot of people are not going to have the money. And if we build in a 95% or a 94.5% factor and we're wrong, then where will we get the money? We would be short, and that's my concern. And so I get your point, and you may be right. It may be 94.5. It may be 92. It might be 90, and so I tried to pick an estimate that I felt like that was conservative, but at the same time was not too conservative. So that's what
And I understand, I do understand your rationale behind that, but when we're faced with the option of giving ourselves a cushion, but based on raising the taxes, the millage rate in the county, I don't necessarily think that's a fair trade-off to the people who are paying their taxes.
I agree with you on that. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that everybody should pay their taxes. They're getting the services and they should pay. And so I think though that the concern I have is that if we use a 95% or another number higher than that, Commissioner Wechtel,
Yeah.
and we don't realize it, then we're doing what Mark has suggested, creating a deeper ditch to dig out of.
But I'm, just for record, I'm not suggesting 95% or higher.
No, I know.
I'm suggesting the rate that we're currently collecting taxes at, which is 94.5.
Stay the same.
I would say
If
that-
we could keep it the same, it would be great.
Well, we were actually increasing that based on previous years because of the collection of back taxes and people were paying their taxes. Therefore, it was helping with that. And, you know,
Mark, you put it in
Manager-
at 92.5. Is that
the
correct?
county manager said that at 90%, well, that would have been prior to my coming on this board. When I came on the board, I think we were at 92%.
We were in the 2 and 3
Yeah,
range.
we were around 92. And we did an excellent job on getting it up to 94.5. We were 99th in the state.
Yep.
And moved up to 56th. Is that correct, Norris?
Right about dead middle.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There was one county with a worse collection rate than us.
And the tax office deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Donnie deserves a lot of credit.
They do.
I'm not here to say that, you know, by all means, this board does not deserve all the credit for that. There are a lot of people who went into making that happen.
Yes, sir.
But my point is, I don't feel so confident that the good people of Madison County are going to shirk their responsibility. And here's the other thing. If we raise the tax rate, wouldn't that make someone more inclined not to pay their taxes?
Well, let me make.
Just the thought. I mean, you know,
But
let me
that-
make-
those who are on the fence that maybe can pay and maybe can't pay, you raise the rate on them, maybe they're gonna say, hey, forget it, I ain't gonna pay them.
Yeah.
But we will be dropping the tax rate. from what it
No,
is.
we're not.
No, not the, you're
The
dropping.
initial 55 cents, we've got to decide what we're gonna drop it to.
I understand, but see, that's Washington math,
Yeah.
okay? You're reducing, you're decreasing the amount of your increase and claiming that as a reduction, okay? So the revenue neutral rate is 46 cents.
But we can't do revenue neutral. That is bad math. When-
The revenue neutral rate is 46 cents.
Yeah.
Okay? So that should be our starting point.
Right.
All right? So if you, I'm making very general figures here because I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the overall taxable value of the county went up 20% roughly. Am I correct in that?
Correct. 25.
25%, okay.
25 to 30.
All right, so I'm gonna use 20% because it's gonna make the math easy for me, all right? So if it went up 20%, all right, then we're talking about reducing the tax millage rate from 55 cents to potentially 50 cents, okay? We raised the value of the county 20%, but we reduced the tax rate by 10%.
But we don't want to be in that 2% pill there. We just don't.
So,
I mean,
I'm
and this is.
I'm making my case, guys. I'm making my case.
Yeah, it's still a pretty large increase.
Yeah, back to this page and this item.
But no tax, my point is, no tax increase would be 46.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And that's going exactly by the budget, nothing going wrong, nothing.
That's why you
what-
budget.
That's why.
That's
we're
right.
saying.
That's why we strive to be,
And then you've got lap salaries and everything else that you plow back into your reserve fund. That's where you build that cushion throughout the year to, you know, so that at the end of the year,
You're saying
everything.
lap salaries, when somebody leaves, holding off on
Well,
hiring
not only
somebody,
that.
we're
but the-
notorious for that.
But the time that you have between the time they leave and the time you hire someone to replace them,
Yeah.
that normally doesn't happen in the same week.
It
That
normally don't happen the same month, the same 3
Right.
months.
Right, so the lap salary is the money that you didn't pay out in salary during that time from the
But that
time.
sucks for these departments that get like.
But
you
it's
know,
not
they're
gonna
doing
solve their hiring
5
problem.
2 people's doing 5 people's jobs.
It-
That's just what I'm saying.
It's not gonna solve the hiring problem.
Could we look at a compromise? We're looking at
Well, that's
94.
what I was
We're not even
suggesting.
setting it now, we're just going over the budget.
Mr. Chairman.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, that's what
Good
I
job,
was
Matt.
wanting to mention.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
okay.
92.5, right?
Yeah,
That's what's in there.
94.5.
94 and a half, yep.
for the purpose and knowing what we're doing here, I would humbly recommend that we compromise on 93 and a half, split the difference. And we know we're dealing in an unknown, okay?
Well, there's 115,000 right
It is.
there.
I concur.
So at least,
$15,000.
I'm for that
I
one.
happen,
$15,000.
I happen
I'm for the
to,
92.5, I'm telling you, this man,
$23.
he knows his
$23.
numbers and.
well, we're obviously all talking.
Oh, yeah, we're all got different views of this too.
I fully think that Mark is right,
I do too.
but.
It's a prediction, it's
But as a
estimation.
prediction, and as a and the 1% is not gonna make or break this budget. It's got other issues. I have no problem with requesting the county manager, finance office, and we know approximately what that's gonna do. That's not gonna stop us from proceeding for the rest of the night, okay? So I'm perfectly happy if everybody else is on projecting 93 and a half. Just to move on and be done. With the understanding that I personally think his 92 and a half is gonna be very close to what we get, and I won't put that in the record too. Yeah.
I've got more confidence in the good people in Madison County.
Oh, I have a great deal of confidence, man. We both.
I think they'll pay their bills.
Okay,
But I don't. wanna
Especially
end
if we
up
don't raise the
zero
rates
in
on them.
December.
and we're not going to.
Yeah.
I'm standing.
We'll move on to what that point is, yeah.
So-
Okay?
All right?
And again, we're all
You got
in
anything on,
agreement.
anything else on that page, Matt?
Well, I won't want to agree, but there's no reason for anybody to go figuring all, I mean, we know what we're doing here, so
Right.
when we get the final budget document that we have to approve and the projection for revenue, that final document will reflect a 93 and a half instead of a 92 and a half. Am I phrasing that correctly, Mark?
Yes.
If we agree on it.
Okay,
I don't
okay,
agree.
want to make sure. All
All right,
right,
page one, anything?
page one.
Good deal, let's go to page two.
Well, we're still on page one.
We can be, yes, sir.
I can go back, Wayne.
Well, I mean,
Yes, sir.
throwing out there what we've been sitting here discussing, just for everyone's information. 2019, sale of foreclosed property was $221,425. 2020 yearly to date is $21,000. So you see
There's
the,
$200,000
Well-
decrease.
But now there were a couple of very large items. As we recall, that 1 year is a bubble. If you go back to 136, okay?
On
In
18.
2019, we had the large sale of Breakaway.
That's right. And that
That was
inflated
about
that year.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was,
yeah.
uh,
But
Yeah.
I'm just using that example as to where, in collection of these back taxes, how much it can
The
generate.
difference it could make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
And again, but that 1 year is more of an anomaly. But $21,000 is low,
yeah, it's very low.
all right?
What we're
Okay.
estimating on that line this year is 15,000,
15,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, but we will collect.
Page two.
All right.
Now, for reference, folks, page 2 deals with
Sales tax.
fund balance, sales tax, federal housing, which is national timber receipts at the clerk of the court, and gas tax refund from the state. That's all what's on
In
that
other words, there's
page.
not much we can do with
Yeah.
that page except
That's,
look at it.
that's stuff that comes to us.
Page three.
Good with that.
Page 3,
Board of
We're
Elections.
now moving to Board of Elections, Register of Deeds, and the beginning of the sheriff's budget are on this page. So Board of Elections,
All right, so. Well, not on this page, nothing for that.
no.
So we're gonna get into
We'll
their
get
actual
into the
department.
election later.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This is a function internal, this is a revenue line. We are all in revenues, let me add at this point. This part of the budget is all revenues, not expenses.
which, and really all we're doing this is just for comparison purposes.
Yeah.
Later on, we get into the actual budget
And
line.
a phenomenal amount of this, we have no control over. Next page is vehicle impound, revenues for emergency management, zoning fees, and we've discussed those fees before. Animal control revenue, I don't mean running the meeting, I'm sorry, Craig.
I have no trouble with that. You just keep right on running that thing. Let's just go, let's go.
I'd like to just back up and, just on a few things.
Okay, go, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rush.
No, you're not. I've just been here reading. One thing, emergency management, I talked to Mark about a vehicle for Lewis. He's got a Ford that's, and I'm not saying put it in his budget, but it does need replaced. It's the one that got flooded down there on the island when Jeff was here. You remember that? I think Jeff was here.
We replaced the engine in that under
Yeah.
warranty.
We did.
So with the wiring and stuff in it, it's starting to give them problems, so just keep that in mind.
How many miles, do you have any idea how many miles?
There's 130, I don't know, 130, 140.
It's freshwater, why did it affect the wiring?
It did-
That was a freshwater
It didn't
flood, it
get-
shouldn't affect the wiring.
Yeah, it wasn't. It
If the
it
wiring,
didn't get
if the
that.
wiring and the stuff gets wet.
Why did we have to replace the engine, do you remember?
Because the water.
It was running,
the oil.
Yeah, it was running when he
Okay.
went into the hole. But he went in.
What I'm
when
saying,
the
Matt,
problems, It didn't get.
When you
into
have one
the-
with water damage, you normally have computer problems, that's what
It didn't
I'm not
get
saying
that
that's
deep.
what happened to that.
No, I understand.
But it's giving him problems.
If you dry the car out and you take all the connections apart, put dielectric grease on all the connections and dry it out properly,
Okay.
you shouldn't have electrical problems from a freshwater loss. If you have brackish water or salt water, you're absolutely 100% correct.
Okay. All right.
But fresh water isn't gonna corrode the wiring system like salt water or brackish water will.
Okay. The other thing on the
So
sheriff's,
it may not have been dried out correctly.
Right.
It would be the only other
on
option.
the sheriff's department budget, we are going to eventually have to get deputy pay up. I mean, you see it all over the United States now, they're quitting. We're probably one of the least paid in western North Carolina. I'm not for sure exactly, but we need to keep in mind that we're gonna have to get them up till they're not coming down here, being here a year, and they're not going to Buncombe County or somewhere else making $10,000-$15,000 more. Now, I wouldn't drive up the road for $5,000. I'd drive up the road for $15,000. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying get it at $50,000 or $45,000, but we're gonna have to get up within $4,000 or $5,000 of the joining county, or we're just gonna keep on rotating.
So we're
deputies and
in revenues right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, yeah.
Okay.
Thankful.
So that's a good discussion
But-
maybe to have
yeah,
later,
yeah.
but we're in revenues right now. Excuse, no disrespect.
No,
I
no.
don't want to cut you off.
No, well, it was on my mind, and if I didn't say it,
Forget. I understand. I'm guilty of that too.
We'll,
so we're
we'll
in
remind
inspections
each other
now.
about midnight, how's that
All
work?
right.
All right, are we up to transportation, gentlemen, or have I skipped animal control? We were there.
We done do that.
You're still in revenues?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, so if it makes life easier for everybody, I'm okay with everything else in the revenue section.
As
Good
am
deal.
I.
I am.
Okay.
Good deal.
Okay, moving from revenue.
Thank you.
I don't
Excellent.
see any room for,
No.
you know, anything that we can
Excellent.
affect on that, so.
Correct.
There's $125,786 adjustment changing from 92.5 to 93.5.
Was 125,000?
Yes, sir.
Cool, I'm better than I thought.
That was half a mil.
We're gonna go to the next section, gentlemen.
Next
Okay, we're down where it's here.
is, involves, the first section is governing bodies, 4110. That's fairly, just as an FYI, our dues to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners will be dropping by 12.3%. The board yesterday voted to actually reduce its dues. That's not a lot of money, but it's a little bit of money. And the Land of Sky budget was approved today. I was on that call, and it fundamentally stays the same.
So, in the world of COVID, and maybe, well, never mind. I'm asking that out of order. Never mind, go ahead.
Okay. Oh,
I'll wait.
I don't have any issue with that particular fund for 110.
okay.
I don't either.
Finance office,
Good there.
It's pretty straightforward.
tax collector, 4140.
On the tax collector, did we not promise Mike Ledford a pay raise after he'd been there so long, after his rehire?
No,
We did not.
I don't recall.
I don't recall that.
I wasn't here, so Wayne, I don't.
I understand, but I thought that that was an agreement that we made, that he would be brought back up to where he was at.
We can
And,
go check the records.
Yeah, check
I'm
the
sorry?
record.
That's when we check the record.
yeah,
And
and we
I
can check the
would
minutes,
think
but
that if
I
that's in his rehire agreement, I don't recall it.
think we
but
should
it
look
could well
at
be.
that. I think there was a discussion of, and we did.
I wasn't involved in
No,
that.
that's
I
pretty
checked
clear.
with,
Yeah, I think we need to look
see if
into
there's any
it.
commitment.
I do too, because if you promise somebody
Yeah.
that, then.
I don't
we need to-
recall making that promise, but.
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean, it'll be a matter of
discussion.
the record if we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check the
It
discussion.
either is or isn't.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, and if it is, it is, and if it's
So
not,
that's,
it's
that-
not.
that's a follow-up. I got
Yeah.
it. That makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. Thank you.
And it's a
Wayne.
good question.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on the tax collector? Moving on then.
Tax supervisor's office, 4141.
I didn't see anything in that one that jumped out at me, gentlemen.
Land records, 4142. 4150, professional services. 4160, court facilities.
Slow down a little bit.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm looking at my notes.
Yeah, I do not need to be running through it. Seriously.
Let me ask a question. I know this might not be, well, yeah, it is for court facilities. How long are we gonna have to have extra person down there, or is that done?
Well, no, this is
Superior
property.
Court Judge
This
says.
this is not operation.
Okay.
This does reflect, and Mark and Karen, this does reflect the revised parking space rent. I noticed, I made a note of that. That's why that budget is up,
Okay.
okay? And it does, but again, so that new parking lot rent is in there. You're not rushing through. When we're ready.
No, you're fine. You're.
All right, general fund governing body 4110. Well,
Yeah. We should be moving on. We should be the
I got a
registered
page out of
deeds.
whack, yeah.
Who should be the registered deeds now?
4170, I'm half blind, didn't get it worse.
Board of Elections, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That starts the bottom.
I'll just take it off.
And mine's out of
Where?
order too.
Board of Elections.
Yeah.
Oh, it says it at the very bottom on this one page, and it flips over to the whole next page.
Yeah.
Okay, the top of
Oh,
the
I
page
see.
is Board of Election. Okay, I
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put Board of Election on your page, gentlemen, next,
Okay.
I'll need to, or I'll forget it. Got it.
All right, so Board of Elections, we've got temporary salaries budgeted at 60,000.
Is that the poll workers?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
That's election cost. Yeah.
Okay.
But for this fiscal year, there should only be one election.
It could be a runoff, but that would not necessarily be budgeted, you know, I mean, it could be.
Well, what my theory is let's not budget for a runoff, and if we have a runoff, we'll figure out a way to pay for it.
Yeah, this doesn't include runoff budget here,
Okay.
this is just the run polls.
And that was, number was something given to you by the Board of Elections?
Yeah, they requested this.
This is a number that was provided by Dr. Ray and that board. as an
Yeah, which
estimate.
has always historically seemed to have been a little bit high, though. If I remember, that's always an area that we carved on because
Any leftover money tends to be expended.
yes.
Well, it's just into salaries. I mean, that's-
Well, they never have a surplus budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's my point.
Point well taken.
Typically, and I know they've raised the price a little bit,
Mhm.
but in past years, it's been more in the $45,000 to $50,000 range for a single election year.
Now, in all fairness to them, a couple of them did reach out to me, not in a formal sense, but one of their concerns is a mail-in election. we don't know if we're going to be having to deal with a mail election. And how many more people are going to request ballots by mail, which is much more expensive.
So would that not qualify as being a COVID-related expense, and could that not be paid for out of CARES money?
You're coming where I was headed, Matt. That any additional cost might possibly, because it's going to be done before we have to expend those monies at the end of the year. And a paper election would be much more expensive, mailing and recording and all the fees for absentee ballots and stuff. And if this bug is as bad as it could be in November, we'll have a lot of people that will not go to the polls to vote. But I don't know if that would be covered, and Donnie may not be able to answer that either under the COVID.
That would be a COVID-related
Okay,
expense.
so any overflow there could be COVID.
And it's a very small sample size, but we just had a runoff election. And the number of people who actually presented themselves to vote in the polling places was much higher than ever anticipated.
Yes.
Now, in percentage-wise, it's small. But that's what you get in a runoff election in most cases.
Yeah, it's-
But it was more than anticipated
Yeah.
by all parties involved. What were you going to say, sir?
I was going to add that in conversations with Dr. Ray recently and reviewing some of the information from the state, there is I guess, some discussion out there if the state should make the decision to go to a paper ballot, that there would be some additional funding coming down to pay for that. So I don't think we need to necessarily budget for that eventuality at this point. I think that I do understand, and I see your point, Commissioner Weckel, there is, a little more money budgeted than what they've historically spent, but it's not that much.
But it never comes back, is what I'm saying, Mark.
Yeah.
In this county, it never comes back.
Well,
Once it's
gone.
given, you might as well write it off. It
They
never
get pay
comes back.
raises with what's-
But they
And-
requested the 60, and
I would propose that we reduce it to either 50 or somewhere close to 50.
Well, and let me just clarify, I have no problem with that, what you're suggesting. And certainly, if any additional cost had to be covered, there's no way we're going to compromise an election.
Absolutely not. We
Yeah.
can't.
No,
Legally,
no,
we have
I
to
mean,
provide.
We're not going to do that.
Right.
So we can assure everybody,
Right.
including the folks watching live stream, this has absolutely nothing to do with compromising an election.
Well, legally, we have to provide and we have to figure out a way. But my point is,
That's correct.
I think a lot of these additional expenses that are being anticipated can be justifiably paid for out of CARES Act money. Because that goes back to the extra cleaning and everything else, which I think we've already planned on doing that, have we not?
We've agreed to that.
So,
Yeah.
but all this over the top, I'm gonna say over the top, it is, I think a lot of it is excessive. I know that it's important, a lot of it is important, but I think a lot of it is excessive as well. But if we're gonna pay for that with CARES Act money, that's what the federal government gave that money for. But
so you're suggesting a $10,000 reduction?
that's my proposal, I'm open to suggestions. But my proposal would be, and like I say, if we have to add more to it later to give them the election
No question.
that they need, they'll get it, because by law,
No
we
question.
have to provide that.
I think
And
it's
see,
a-
they know that, so that's why they always ask for more.
Yeah.
And then next time that'll be the baseline, whatever, everything will just
It's
be taken as
exactly,
a baseline.
it builds on itself, and
Okay.
that's why we've all, so I'm sorry.
Okay,
No,
awesome.
I was just gonna say that I like this strategy. You take out 10,000 plus the FICA, and if we have a contingency, we can always appropriate money out of contingency. Y'all can then for anything.
Okay, are we in agreement, reduce 10?
Yeah, well done.
As long as, if they need it, they get it.
Oh,
It's
they
not a
will,
argument.
they will get it, there's no question about that. That is, we have to, we're required, and by principle as well, both legal and principle. All right.
And there's a big push right now by the State Board of Elections to implore people to do their patriotic duty and volunteer to help work these elections. Whether that pans out or not, who knows, but I'm just telling you that's out there, because I got the email from the State Board of Elections the day or
Well,
two
what they're
ago.
worried about is, with all due respect, having enough people to work the election.
Well, nobody wants to work them, and
Yeah.
it's,
But most of your election workers are people my age and some beyond. And how many of those people are going to want to work those hours and?
Correct.
And that time of year?
And my understanding is they have changed it to where they can make it shifts.
They have.
But then again, that takes more people.
But
to make that happen.
Even in Madison County on an election day, you're gonna see hundreds and hundreds of people at these bigger polls that you have not seen in months or years, and people will be working.
All right, register deeds.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Snelson.
Thank you, Mark. You run it for a while.
right.
Rock and
Go
roll.
ahead, Mark. Register deeds, he said, register deeds.
Anybody on the register deeds?
Okay, yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Register of Deeds salaries. The salary line, does that include the vacant position at the Register of Deeds office?
It does.
They've gone, what, 7, 8, 9 months without that person? Do they really need it?
See, that's what I'm talking about, she's talking about.
Well, that's
Not hiring somebody, you overload people.
Uh,
Or we do sometimes.
It's government work, brother. It's government work.
Go ahead, Roy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I think that they are entitled to the registered deeds plus 2 deputies or
Yes.
whatever positions. So I think if you don't budget, you're actually going to be creating a little bit of a problem. The other thing is we are going to have.
Is that a legal
change.
requirement?
Yes.
It is, okay.
It is. And I think the other piece of this that plays into this is that you've got a new register of deeds coming on board, starting with this election. So I would advise against cutting that position.
And they bring a lot of revenue into it.
I was
That's
going to
pretty
ask,
good.
Harry, are they not a department that actually has a positive cash flow?
They do.
They actually generate more money than their expenses.
Okay, let's move along then.
And,
We're good.
well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry, sir.
All right. So we've got, but we've got to also realize, and I understand, if there's a law that says we have to give them a register of deeds and 2 deputies, then there's a law that says that. But my point is, more and more of their services are going online. Do we really need those physical bodies in that office if the services are being acquired online?
That's a question I think you can ask your new registered deeds, certainly, and
But it's too late at that point because we've already budgeted.
Hey, we ain't voted on this yet, man.
I'm just saying.
But, I think that, the Register of Deeds office is one, like Norris pointed out, positive revenue generator. They run a good ship down there.
Yes.
No problems.
I'm not criticizing them.
No, I know. But I just think that we can't get around that one requirement.
I'm just saying, they've gone this long without it, I just,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying, okay.
That's how you're trying to fluff your money, man.
I'm trying, brother.
Okay, now,
Have a little bit
are we
more.
ready now to move on, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Okay, without, I don't feel pushed. Yep. Public Buildings Maintenance, Department 4261.
Hold on.
Where's that at? We got a question
Here we go.
4261.
Right below register of deeds, computer.
on that. Yeah, I've got it.
Got it?
Mhm, okay.
Yeah, the,
There was a request for equipment.
equipment, yeah, 79,000.
Yep.
What,
Mark has briefed us on that before.
I know we have, refresh my memory, please.
Yeah.
That's all I have is 79,000 equipment, that's all I have.
He had asked for some equipment. I don't recall it off the top of my head what it was he was asking for. I'm gonna pull that out and look at it.
I think, if I recall right, we want at least a tractor.
Tractor, mowers.
Additional mowing
There was
equipment.
3 mowers.
Yeah, the mowers, yeah.
They're using, my understanding is that they have been for a long time using residential grade mowers.
Yeah.
And they need commercial grade mowers.
That's one of the reasons we get stuff mowed.
Amount of mowing that they put
Those are
those.
I know,
$10,000.
I get it, my question would be, in a year like this, can we phase into that instead of buying all that equipment at one time?
Let me explain how I was proposing to do this.
Sure, okay.
I think that they need these pieces of equipment, and my recommendation to the board was that we appropriate these funds, but that we hold off on committing
Correct.
until we see, get halfway through the year and make sure the economy's leveling out before and then if we do it, that we finance these pieces
Yes.
of equipment so that it's not using all of our cash to go out and just buy them. And the thought process is that you spread those costs over the useful life of the assets instead of trying to pay for them all out front of your first year.
Well, and my other suggestion to that would be, you're gonna get a better deal if you buy it in the off-season.
Yeah.
And if what we've got will get us through
This
the
summer.
mowing season,
Yeah.
then in the fall, when hopefully we have some lapsed salaries or additional money that becomes available for whatever reason, maybe sales tax comes back at better than projected, whatever the situation may be, then we look at buying that equipment in the wintertime when all this stuff is on sale, instead of buying it in the dead middle of summer, when everybody's buying it.
Yeah.
That would be that's where I'm.
I agree with you. I think that's the time to do it. I also think that on any capital outlay that's in this budget, I'm going to suggest to you all that we have a stipulation that we don't buy that capital outlay until we get into October, November, December, and we've got a
Agreed.
better sense of where
Where
we're
we
going
are.
to be
Yeah.
financially.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir.
my question would be then, can we scale this down some?
Yeah, can we cut that?
Maybe not eliminate it altogether, because we know we're gonna probably need something. Something's gonna break, we understand it happens, and when it breaks, you gotta replace it.
But I would say that it's an all or nothing thing, as far as I see it, you know. If the economy's good and we're not seeing big shocks to our system, he needs this equipment, you know. And I say we finance it and pay for it over time. And that way you don't have to go out here and tax the taxpayers up front for it. You know, you can spread it out.
Paying more.
So, and I know, for example, you know, Kubota, just using them as an example, because I've got a Kubota. Not an endorsement, that's what I have. So if, you know, and Mahindra, I know Mahindra, Bypass Mahindra does the same thing. And they usually have very attractive finance offers.
Right now,
Offers
it's
when-
0%.
Yeah, I mean, Kubota is usually like 0% for 3 years.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think
That's what Mark's talking about.
I think Mahindra is too. So I get that. So, but if we're gonna do that, do we really need to have 79,000 in that line?
I see what you're saying. If
Yeah.
we're gonna pay for it over 3 years.
Let me show y'all how I've got this.
Okay.
On the revenue side of the house, there is an installment financing line item that shows where we're bringing in let's see, where's that line item? It's on page, So in government, you do this a little bit different than you would in the private sector, okay? All right, and so you go to your revenue page, you flip back up to your revenue page, you'll see that there's installment financing of $159,000. That installment financing includes the $79,000 that we have for maintenance, and the other $80,000 is for a couple of patrol cars for the sheriff's office. So, but in all cases, we would not be borrowing any of this money until probably January, would be how I would propose that we approach this.
And I understand. So what you're saying is we got a budget for it in order to have it available to spend if the time comes.
Right. And assuming that everything else that we're talking about here is good. And you'll have a vote. I mean, I'll have to bring it to you as a financing agreement. You know, I can't do that without your authority.
So what we're really doing is putting it in the budget, but we would still be approving it at the time we agreed to do it.
Has anyone given any serious consideration to leasing patrol cars? I know the town of Woodfin does that.
Waynesville does that too.
One of the things that I've had the conversation with Sheriff Harwood, and I've had the conversation with a couple of other county managers that have programs that are doing this, and it is something I think that we need to look at for our fleet. A lot of other governments are doing it, and it's saving money.
Well, and it allows them to have newer equipment on a more regular basis.
More reliable equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing you need on emergency call is a sheriff car breakdown or
Right.
whatever.
And there's no doubt that a lot of those cars have been nursed past their normal life expectancy.
yes.
And let's
Well,
face it.
if you remember correctly, was it last year, our first year, 9 out of 22 cars were over 180,000 miles.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think leasing would be a lot better and keep newer vehicles on
It's
the road.
smarter in the
Cheaper.
long
And especially considering most of them tend to be
And
Dodges
when you
anyway,
get,
and
when you get done
over
with them,
150,000 on a
you're
Dodge,
lucky
you're
to
on
get
borrowed time.
$500 out of them after you get done with them.
Yeah.
What I was trying to do in this recommendation, Commissioner Wakefield and other commissioners, is trying to provide some things that Jesse needs in order to be able to do his job better and do it in a way that is respectful to the citizens, you know, and use the tax dollars as wisely as possible. That's what I was trying.
And I understand that, and I do, and I'm not, no way am I taking pot shots at that department, because he
I-
does a great job.
He does.
Oh.
I'm just trying to balance our budget.
Right.
That's all
Yeah.
I'm looking to do.
And I
It's not nothing personal against anybody or any department. But, so the tractor that we're looking at potentially considering, I guess for lack of a better term, when a tractor, the definition of tractor can really run a big gamble. What type of tractor are we, I mean, what are we looking for, like size-wise, horsepower-wise, that
What
sort
do
of
we
thing?
need?
20 horsepower,
Yeah, and what, I
40
mean,
horsepower.
and I guess what's the tractor gonna be used for? Is it gonna be snow removal in the wintertime? Is it gonna be
Strictly mowing or
used?
what?
Yeah. So would be my question on that.
Yeah. We need to be more specific on the purchase
Yeah.
in order to know the expense.
Well, and again, we're doing a general budget here. The specifics we would have to approve at the given time.
Understand that.
Yeah.
And.
But
I
I'm
know
trying
Mark's
to,
looking for
trim
that.
our budget, that's all.
But I can remember several months ago, I had a conversation when I was out there, and Jason was talking about, and Mark may have more of this. I don't think he may have had a Pacific Firm idea, but he wanted a multi-use vehicle that could be used.
So not a skid steer mower, a regular tractor. Is that-
Well, now, we're talking about two different things here.
Yeah.
The professional mowers would be more like what Marshall University uses,
Yeah,
or what professional golf course, or something appropriate. And not one size fits all here, but as we mow our ball fields and all this stuff, so we're probably looking at different types of mowers.
Right.
Okay? But the inefficiency of what we're doing there is costing us an arm and a leg, because we can't get anything done. We can't, and it's killing us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either have good equipment and save our people, or hire more people and bad equipment, and we can't get to it now.
Here's what he's
Okay,
asking for. He's
more specific.
replacing Toro residential mowers and commercial mowers. He's replacing an '04 Chevrolet 1500 that has over 200,000 miles. And he's asking for a new piece of equipment, which is a 4x4 tractor.
4x4.
That's what he's asking.
How big?
But again, that could be.
Well, I
Yeah.
can get you
Yeah.
the specifics.
Yeah, that could be.
I know, and I guess,
Maybe 20 horsepower,
and we can get back to that too, because
Yeah.
I'm curious what what the intention of having the tractors for and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So that's all, that's all well and
Yeah.
good. So the truck, are we looking at, are we looking at,
Replacing the one he's got.
I know the one he's got's rough. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
criticizing that
Yeah.
request. But, I mean, are we looking at repurposing a truck from another department, or are we looking at buying a brand new truck?
His
Or
is
buying
actually
used.
buying a new one, and then we'll take the old one and surplus it.
That being the case, then the tractor's not too expensive. A
I'd
truck,
say about.
Might be a
used.
subcompact at this point.
yeah,
Yeah.
a truck's gonna cost,
The truck's
Do we
gonna
have
be-
to have a new truck, or can we get
I
a
think he
good
was
used?
looking at, on the tractor, I think he was looking at getting a used tractor, was what I understood. He didn't want to buy a new
Yeah.
one, and I agree with that. I think a
Yeah,
used one would be.
the only difference is it might be problematic finance-wise.
Yeah.
might give us more trouble than.
Well, and back to even leasing his truck, here we come back to a lease vehicle again. But when you're down to a handful of maintenance people, you gotta have a reliable vehicle like you do in any other department, and he's driving a piece of junk,
Sure.
bottom line.
Okay, we're ready to move on.
Well, I would still ask, is there, we can't trim that line item anyway?
I mean, you can, but I don't see where you can cut it. I mean, you can cut out the things he's asked for now, and I can do whatever the pleasure of the board is.
I sure do like our place to be mowed and timely. That's a,
Well,
That's a
if
big
we
deal.
cut it $9,000, is that possible? Cut it 9,000?
You're not gonna, if you do, you're not saving any tax dollars, because this is what the way I've got it, is got it installment financing for the whole 79,000. So, I mean, it's not saving the tax dollars by cutting it out.
And again, guys, if we decide later on we don't spend it, we still decide later on we don't spend it.
I mean, here's the thing, guys, this guy has one or two people working for him. He has to mow, he has to use inmates and go out there and use all kind of people to try to keep this county looking good, keep it in good repair, keep all the air conditioners running. You know, he needs equipment, and equipment that's reliable, and he's not asking for much.
Not trying to deny him his equipment, I'm not trying to say that he's not doing a good job,
And I didn't
or that
mean
the
to-
department isn't doing a good job. They do a wonderful job. But my point is I'm trying to save the taxpayers of the county some money, and I'm looking at whatever I can look at. If you guys say, no, there's no way we can do it, then there's no way we can do it. But if we say there's no way we can do it on every line that we bring up, then we ain't gonna get nowhere. We're gonna be looking at tax increase.
Well, my only last comment is, we're not spending a penny.
Well, but
We're
we still
only
got a budget for
allocating.
it.
Yeah, but we still have 5 votes to say yes or no.
I know, but
On the entire $79,000.
I understand.
So what we're really doing is being a bit cosmetic by playing with it, because it's just a contingency. We're simply saying we may need it, and if we do need it, it's there, but we still approve every penny of it we spend.
I know, but we're charging the taxpayer for it up front.
Well, not if we don't spend it.
Not on this.
Yeah. But again, to move on, I really don't see changing that, guys. I really don't.
All right then.
Okay.
All right, Sheriff's Department, Department 4310.
I done said what I said in the other side.
Okay, gotcha.
The juvenile program,
Yes, sir.
we were going to feed the juveniles from the school lunch program.
Yes.
Are we not doing that?
In the summer, I don't think that was available, if I remember correctly, and I may be wrong.
How are the schools providing lunch right now?
For right now, but with this COVID thing, they probably are, but generally,
It was not written into the original one because most times in the summer they don't do that.
Right.
Yes,
But
sir.
our food increase is up $60,000, and over the previous year's budget that didn't really take into account the fact that, I don't recall really taking into account the fact that we were gonna have the food paid for the juvenile inmates out of the
I
school.
can't remember, man, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's
When
the
it's out.
cost of the food is what's really gone, is what's gone.
And I understand the cost of food's gone up. All you gotta do is go to Ingles and realize that.
Yes.
We'll get some hamburger
My
meat.
thought is though still is that if the school's paying for the juveniles to eat and most of the jail is filled up with juveniles, it still seems like even though the cost of the food itself has actually gone up, the volume of the food we're buying should have gone down and maybe not be so much of an increase. So that's my question.
Yeah, and this would be a question of the reimbursement rates that were set and would be set, because they're not bringing food into the jail. One of the reasons we've had no jail infections and no nursing home infections is the number of people who've had access in and out of those facilities have been incredibly limited. And, but how that cost is redistributed, I can't answer to, but it's very, very strict getting bodies in and out of the jail.
That certainly could be something that Mark could talk to the sheriff about and see where we are on that, why that line's gone up.
Yeah,
I don't
because
think it's a problem.
And the last thing we need is an inmate to get sick and we have to pay the legal
Correct.
fees.
We're-
You're not in the medical bill, sorry.
We're at 220.
Of course, the juveniles should be
We
paid for elsewhere.
budgeted
Well, yeah, but
286.
Probably what would happen would be somebody 75 years old, we got a therapy person that the kid would get it, not get sick, and give it to somebody else that they come in contact with.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of, you make a good point, Commissioner Brigman, about the 220 versus what was requested, but there are a substantial number of bills, if you will. If you consider the payables for June and, that have not been paid yet. So there are additional expenses that's going to push that $221,000 upward before the end of the fiscal year. So we're going to have
That's
bills
true.
that are going to come in here for
What are we
food.
looking at? Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're
I got it.
projecting, how do we project $66,000 more dollars? How do we,
Well, I mean, you could take the numbers and just do it out, I mean, and come up with it. Take it and divide it by the number of months and multiply it out. The 286 was what they requested. I didn't adjust it because I think it's reasonable.
Commissioner Brigman's comment is a good one. I think we just need to ask for those computations. They've got them.
I'll get it.
They've got the computations. That's a fair and rational question.
So if we're gonna vote on a budget possibly tonight, how are we gonna reconcile that.
I guess the same way about Mr. Leff, we're just gonna have to hope that if it's there, we're just gonna have to go back and do an addendum.
I got a question on vehicles and tires and tubes. Is it more, do we save money sourcing it out and not have a county mechanic? You three's been here for a while. Is it economically?
We need our own maintenance program.
We looked at it a few
Yeah.
years ago, and it didn't work out quite well enough at that point. But it is something to consider.
Yeah, I think
We
as
need-
part of a plan, and I don't mind saying that Wayne and I have discussed this and in the past, and I think, and Mark and I have discussed, as we look at new things to do, clearly, from a safety point of view, from an operational cost point of view, to look at a whole maintenance, and that's part of leasing equipment instead of old equipment, that whole paradigm, even bulk fuel purchase, okay, for which.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I think, in all fairness, Mark, I want to speak this, that's on his agenda for this coming year, to take a really hard line and bring us back some good data. Wayne and I, we've talked about this for years, both of us have some transportation background. We think we could figure out a way to have it save money, but we need to do it, study it. We think we could save money. We know we can have better equipment and better maintained equipment, but we'll, and I'm not speaking for you, Mark, but I think that's a very good project for us to do this year. Safety, reliable equipment, and save money. And that's a trifecta, but we need to do it. And possibly, we could even bring in our ambulance service or some of these other folks that are going to be having to have contract maintenance if we get it big enough. And that could also help support that operation and pay for those individuals. Because the maintenance of our ambulance service will have to be done by somebody somewhere. And their main facility is in Boone, so I don't see them running ambulances back. But all of that put together will take time and study, but it's a very valid question, Mark.
And that would do the same for our DSS.
Yeah, the whole.
For all the county
fleet.
cars.
Yeah.
The whole fleet. And
Yes.
again, leasing will be an integral part of that, because any leasing program, whether it's Penske or whether it's whoever else, there might be a deal that we could even work to integrate some of our other vehicles into that other new lease vehicle program. Yeah. But it's a very, very valid.
Any more
subject.
questions, Roland? Wayne?
And we don't need to be talking about this time next year, we need to be active.
I would like to say one positive. You look down there under the body camera block grant,
Yes, sir.
4950, that was the one that I got through. Every sworn officer on the road has a body camera now.
Excellent.
Good job.
I think that's good for everybody.
It is good.
Next line, emergency management.
What is that code number? My book is not.
4330.
One thing to back up on
Yeah,
real
back
quick
up, back up.
about the sheriff's department. I mean, traditionally, he's always got enough in his drug money, his drug fund. I mean, traditionally, we've always bought a car a year out of that. Are we considering that? Has this budget
Well, it
taken
was
that
my
into consideration?
understanding last year was he was taking money and putting lights, radios and stuff like that in cars instead of us doing that, which is $5,000.
Easy.
I don't know, but I'm sure that was in one of the budget amendments that came before us.
So what was your question?
I guess my question is has that been taken into account for, when we're saying that he needs two vehicles, but traditionally we've had, in the past, we've always been able to buy usually at least one vehicle out of his drug fund money.
Right.
I mean, have we taken that into consideration in crafting this budget?
I have not asked him to pay for one of these out of the drug funds, but I certainly can do so. I mean, it would.
That'd be,
I wouldn't say take away one of the two cars, because we initially agreed on three when we started out 2 years ago. We've got two in the budget this year for $80,000. But I will say, with that $80,000, you could get two cars with lights and everything, because my understanding, a car is about $30,000 on the state grant. Is that about right?
High 20s, I think.
Yeah.
Last I looked.
So at 80,000, you should be able to get two. So
Well, they may
maybe-
have gone up since I looked last time.
Well,
You can get two, but.
You can if you
they
don't go by
cost-
four-door pickups and big SUVs.
They're about 30,000 base, but by the time you put all the equipment and everything on, you're getting closer to 40.
How much?
So
40.
Close to 40.
So we buy all new lights and everything every time we get a new car, or we can't recycle any of that stuff?
Well, sometimes they can, sometimes they don't.
I mean, if you go
But
from a
you
Dodge
stay-
Charger to a Dodge Charger, you should be able to recycle,
That's what I
right?
was fixing to say, if you stay the same car, they should be able to swap that out.
I
That'd be
don't
something
think
you'd have to
he's
ask
got
him.
any enough money in his drugs forfeited funds to buy a car right now. I think he's got about $9,000.
9,000 in drug fund?
Forfeited funds, yes, sir. I do want to say to you though, Carrie and I have been double checking on the feeding of the prisoners. And it does look like that there is a room to adjust that line. So she thinks that they're gonna probably be okay with the 221 this year, you know, and so I just share that with you that there is room in that line item to.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, Karen.
221, because that's.
21.
Wait, can you give me the exact number, which, what
Thank you,
line item?
Karen.
That's 65.
I've passed, let me see.
I would just
What
say
number is that?
I ain't okay
4310,
going down to
2210.
21, I'll be honest with you. I think
4310,
people give budgets
2210,
to
feeding
the reason.
prisoners, that's feeding.
Some people do inflate budgets, but overall, that's just my,
Big difference right there.
I just want to be clear, I'm not accusing anybody of inflating
Oh, no.
anything. I'm just
No.
trying to,
Yeah, we're just looking for
Yeah.
things. I still would like to see their mathematics on it to see what
Yeah,
the purpose is.
There seems to be enough,
And if it's not, then we go back to it, period.
well, and Donnie, correct me here if I'm wrong.
we can't starve them, we got to feed them.
We,
Correct.
yeah,
We
the
can-
state sets guidelines for how much we feed.
Dedrick Brown used to walk in there with a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter.
Little-
well, that was for him. That was for him. Donnie,
He did it the right way.
if we can approve this budget with a item or two like this that needs further investigation. Am I not correct?
I have a suggestion.
Go. Hank,
Let me
go.
make a
Well, we do
suggestion.
budget
If
amendment.
there are,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
On this one, for example, there's $50,000 here, you know. We could do a couple of things. We could reduce the expenses, if you will, and, you know, have it understood that if we have to put it back, we take it out of contingency. I mean, that's just how I see it, to make it simple. But if you were of a mind to take this out and reduce it down to, you know, 25,000 or 50 or whatever number y'all choose to do, that would be my suggestion. That way you don't have to go through a bunch of machinations at this point in time.
That's fair. That's fair. And if it's needed, it's needed, and if it's not, it's not.
Just like with the Board of Elections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't not feed them, we have to feed them, ultimately.
Legal.
Well, and it's a line item. It's not something that can be pulled or used in any other, without a budget amendment anyway. It's a specific line item.
Well, I mean, basically what you're gonna have to do, you're either gonna have to pull it out of contingency. If you got it in contingency, if you put enough of these in here and you wear out your contingency, then you're gonna be
Amen.
pulling down from fund balance.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, yes, it can be done, you know, just try not to have too many of those that you're gonna be pulling out of
Well, then, you know,
contingency.
yeah, because then you got a fake budget.
Yes.
Yeah, you're hiding your problems, is exactly what I'm saying, yeah. It's a neat
See,
way to
my only
have
thing
it.
about that is, Matt's found us $125,000 so far that we saved. And I'm not gonna be in favor of this until I see those numbers, as counting that money as being saved to take off at the end. So that's one person.
Well,
That's it. But unless we wanna order breakfast, we need to keep going.
Well, no, we need to get agreement. Leave it.
That's
or
me.
pull it.
That's me.
I'd say leave it.
All in favor of leaving it?
Well, what are we leaving?
We're not changing it.
Which one?
The food.
The food line.
Oh, okay. what are you saying?
Well, let's make sure everybody understands here. We don't want to rush. We need to make sure everybody understands. Well,
I understand.
I'm saying we leave it alone. That's what I'm saying till we see their
That's what I
figures.
said. I said,
That's my motion. I got a second here. Discussion. All in favor of leaving it alone?
leave it. Let's move
All
on.
right, next. But I do want to see the mathematics.
I'll get it.
All those in favor of not,
I'm sorry, yeah, all those in favor not, okay, 3-2.
Well, and guys, remember, it's a line item.
I know it is, but we're never gonna get it back.
but once it's issued,
It won't
it's
come back.
done.
Agreed.
Let's just see if it does.
Is this an official vote? Yes.
Pardon me?
Was this an official vote? We not voted on the others, or is this an official vote?
Yes.
Well,
My understanding, we
Mr. Attorney.
voting to leave it. Do we need to, Don?
I think they voted on one specific item that they want to have in the budget ordinance, so yes, I would record it as a vote on a budget item.
okay.
Then, of course, I want that caveat in there, look at the math, and if it doesn't do, then I want to come back, even if it does make us do it, and then,
I'll come back to it.
okay, thank you.
can.
Okay, just wanted to put that in there. Okay, awesome.
We good there, Matt, one?
I don't think
We
I've
move
got
on to
any.
merchant management, you still on that?
No, I'm.
Okay.
We voted, let's move on.
Mercy
Emergency
management.
management, I said my spiel on the vehicle, so we do have problems with radios. We know that. Yesterday, I was going to Spring Creek, and radio traffic was, we could not hear them, they couldn't hear us, it was scratchy. We have that problem on Laurel also. We all know, we're aware of that.
Would that not be our repeater is weak?
Yeah.
Well, they came, they're wore out, Wayne, it's old.
But
Whole
our
system's
repeater
inadequate.
would, if we looked at replacing that, instead of replacing all the radios, would that not be a better solution?
That'd be a great solution.
What's most cost effective?
Good question.
Well, the
Replace
repeater,
it
it
or-
don't really matter how good a radio you got if your repeater's poor. It's,
Yeah.
your radio, is gonna be poor. And I've ran into it several times on Laurel, not all the time up Spring Creek. We got these Vipers now, all the fire departments has one Viper, but even, the Vipers don't pick up good in places. Going out of Hot Springs.
Would a
with an
repeater
A-frame
help
unit- Well, that's a state, Viper.
Okay, I got, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a $55 million.
Yeah, that's
State thing.
state infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even there's places that those don't pick up in Hot Springs, they're leaving Hot Springs going up towards.
Or you're going up
Spring
to
Creek.
Bluff, you're never land.
Yeah.
We had two people look this over though, but no charge to.
Yeah, and
vendors that
there's
looked it over.
actually, like you said, there's people checking these out. We've used, I can't think of his name, what's his name?
Clint Gorman?
Oh, out here
Yeah, who's the one we've
Charlie?
used for?
Charlie Gant.
Charlie Gant.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had brought somebody else in to check, which is Clint Gorman. You know Clint?
Yeah.
Okay.
No charge, by the way.
Mr. County Man,
So where's your line for radios? Or a repeater or whatever, where's that at?
It's not.
It's not, that's what,
It's not.
we're just now, we're getting them checked out, so
I got
we
you.
really don't know what we need yet, Wayne. We know they said our stuff's old, so, and you're talking millions of dollars when you're going and putting up new radio system. Our 911, is outdated now. And how long's it been since we've had that?
Can that stuff be addressed through grants?
Yeah, the radio is, if I'm not mistaken, Buncombe County, maybe it was Clint, I can't remember, wrote a grant for some radios.
It was
Like about
Clint.
$1 million grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that would fall on that
So-
911. I mean, 911.
We also need a tower down in Laurel and one near Brush Creek that they say that without those, we're never gonna be able to cover the county.
So it's not a
properly.
quick fix, but we got to start somewhere. So as soon as they let us know what we need.
That's something we'll have to address.
In the future budget.
Yeah.
That's a future
Yeah.
budget item, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. County Man?
Yes, sir.
Under emergency management, professional services other, what is that? What would that actually be?
I think from time to time, when the person who's in charge is on vacation, they have somebody come in.
They'll have a merchant, and I think we pay them $75 a day for on-call, Wayne.
Yeah.
Because if
So that'd be
they're not-
like somebody from Buncombe County's covering us or
No,
whatever?
we've actually got people down here, there's like 5 or 6 of them, it doesn't cost a whole lot. Where's that at, Wayne?
It's about.
Oh, I see it right
Yeah.
here. So we're talking 4,000, but
19.
that's,
Yeah, we're talking, I mean, we budget 4,000. Year to date, we spent $1,835. I've just.
and that may just be, and correct me if I'm speaking out of turn,
You're not
Mark,
speaking.
maybe where they're not taking off as much.
I think with the COVID-19 and CARES and all.
Nobody's
I think
taking
that's
vacation.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna go?
We're, yeah,
Half mass will travel. Okay.
all right.
Good,
Next section, and,
Yeah, I'm good.
good, Wayne?
Yeah.
Man,
okay, what's up?
You're where?
now dispatchers here was the next page.
911.
Because
Where you
it's at the bottom here, but it's the whole next page.
Right, 911 dispatchers.
Not a whole, not anything.
No,
there.
that's, and we,
It looked pretty vanilla to me.
and we've recently staffed there, so that's based on
I
recent
think we're
staff.
full staff.
We are adequately staffed now, yes.
That's another one of them things, they're going up the road making $15,000-$20,000 more dollars a year. I mean, we've had several good
Enormous
dispatchers,
difference.
and we can't compete with Buncombe.
Well, we never will.
No, it's one of
we
these
don't have the
things,
budget.
you gotta give them enough to stay here, not want to drive for $10,000.
Our next one, if we're, are we ready to move
Yeah.
on? I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, is fire, 4340, contract.
Well, that's
North Carolina Forest.
North
Yeah,
Carolina
that's-
Forest
we
Service,
don't-
that's.
Yeah, well, there ain't
There's
nothing we can
nothing
do about that, is there?
No, that's a pass-through.
Okay, well,
Inspections.
all right.
Inspections.
Okay.
We cut quite a bit, looks like, in inspections, Mark.
Well, we consolidated.
Okay, all right.
Remember, we just approved
Yes.
the reorganization.
Disregard that.
Yeah, yeah, that's part of that reorganization affected in that
Okay.
office.
All right.
And as a matter, for the record, Mark, you want to point out how much those reorganizations are saving the county next year? What we're talking about, planned
It
savings?
looks about like $51,000.
Yeah, it's right at $50,000, which is a saving by reorganization. Oh, yeah.
Next,
Economic development, 4356.
and Terry does a good job. Let me tell you.
Yes. Okay. E&E?
Next, medical examiner, am I correct, or is it on, got
Yeah,
medical?
that's right.
Yep.
Medical examiner,
And that's a set fee, we just approved that new
Yeah.
contract with a new person.
and we've got that for free for 30 years,
Yep.
after 28 years from the man that's doing it now, so.
Yep.
Okay.
EMS?
Animal control. Anybody got any questions on
No, we.
that?
Where are you at?
We
EMS.
are right under medical examiner.
Okay. Oh, you're on ambulance?
Yeah,
43.7.
Ship's already sailed.
Yeah, we've already voted on that.
Yeah, and it's contract, so it is what it is.
I would like to give us a spot of good news. I have been in confrontation with Dogwood Trust multiple times. I'm now to the second stage. I've asked for $700,000 from that trust, and I have made it to the second round for consideration.
Yes.
Excellent.
So,
That'd be good.
nobody's kissed us yet, but I think I can at least go dance. And I wrote a nice letter, you know, explaining about the Hilburton funds and where we are, and what we need to do, and I'm now playing politics with people on the board. I am, ones I know, and I'm asking other people to see if I can get, because we need a kiss.
Yeah.
So, just to say,
And it may be, don't want to say it's favorable, but we've made it to the second round.
yes, they haven't kicked me in the butt yet, so.
Nope.
When will you know on that?
They write me nice letters, but they don't give me a whole lot of anything. I think, I feel a lot like it's I'll let you know, Mr. Goforth, when,
Yeah.
well, at least they're responding.
yes. But actually, I hope it doesn't go for another week or two, give me a chance to talk to 2 or 3
Yeah.
more people who vote. So that would just be a nice thing for us to to breathe.
Yeah, okay.
Animal control, we've done discussed.
Yes.
Correct.
That's-
Transportation.
Yeah, easy for us to say. And a lot of that budget is driven by the Fed and the state.
While we're on transportation, can I ask a question about
Yes, sir.
this money with the CARES Act money? We had several people work in different aspects in the county. We had, of course, our EOC, we had our 911, and we had transportation work. Are we going to compensate our employees any more for working during that period?
You're talking about our essential employees, essential employees. weren't you?
Yeah.
In addition to their normal salary, Mr. Brigham?
In addition to the normal salary?
No, sir, what we did do, during this time frame is we paid people overtime for the time that they worked.
Instead of putting comp time.
Instead of it just accruing comp time.
So they got paid overtime pay during their regular 8-hour schedule?
Oh, no.
No, sir, just for anything
Anything.
over 40. If they worked 45 hours, the 5
Well,
hours.
that's not an addition.
And that was CARES Act money, correct?
But that is CARES Act money. Now, it is an addition, Commissioner Brigman, because in the past, what the county had done is just let that go to quote unquote comp time. But that also has a little bit of a, it'll catch you, okay? What I mean by that is.
It's a time
somebody-
bomb.
Yeah, it is. If they build up 240 hours or 400.
I understand.
Some hours worth of comp time, when they leave, they get
I
paid.
know.
It eats you.
You've been there.
But we had county employees that were off work. You know, they were sent home, but they still got paid.
They weren't off work. The county employees that went home was what we call telecommuting, okay? They had their computers, they had all the information set up at their home. They could dial in to all of our systems and software and do whatever they needed to do. They were not going home and sitting there and doing nothing.
Every county employee that went home to work had a computer.
Yes, sir. They all had the ability to telecommute. That's my understanding. The ones that were working from home had the ability to work from home.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
And when that was one thing that I'll give IT a lot of credit for, is
Yes.
when this thing first started, we were scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. How to serve the county citizens, but at the same time protect our county employees. And so they did a remarkable job setting everybody up and getting it set up so that people could take their
Okay.
computers home.
That's good.
This is probably the only time I know how to interject this. Also during this EOC thing, whatever emergency operations, whatever that
Oh,
committee
yeah.
we did, I have a grant at DOJ and coming out of there for $21,000. That should cover all the expenses of people and the food and drink, whatever, for the EOC
steaks?
committee. So no steaks, no.
No.
But we did buy from
No.
local restaurants. I'm just saying we should be able to come even, and they made the grant easy. I mean, they made this one really easy. They were asking people to apply. So I'm hoping to hear something on it soon. That will be the people, the callers, and everybody else. So it should not cost the county any money.
Okay.
So I guess along those same lines, and this is a hard, I mean, it's a hard question to ask because I know it's gonna, a lot of people may not like this question. We, as opposed to many of the businesses that had to shut down and lay people off and everything else, we kept everybody employed at 100%.
It's accurate.
All right. We've got, in this day and age, for someone to have a job that they don't have to worry about being laid off, and they get all their health insurance for the employee paid 100%. At some point, we're gonna have to make the hard decision about the county employees being treated like everybody else in the world, where they gotta pay for part of their insurance. The insurance eats us up. And that's, I love being able to use that as a selling point to come work for Madison County, but at some point, it's not sustainable. And I guess the question is, at what point, when are we gonna have the courage to give that strong consideration and pull the trigger on that? And if not in a budget year like this, when, if ever? I mean, that's a big part of this budget.
Yep.
And it's a hard question for me to ask, because I hate to, I hate to
agree with you
do.
110%, Matt, but with what we pay, I don't want to ask. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you got a good point there. If we were competing with our other counties, but.
Well,
and-
we compete with our other counties. The only one we don't compete with is the 800-pound gorilla in Buncombe County.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? And they pay everybody a 20% premium compared to everybody else. If you compare us to the other surrounding counties,
So
we're
I'd
pretty
say do a
fair.
study on it and see what, and not only on that, but salaries in the other counties our size around us. And that'd be a starting point.
Well,
I mean, I don't think we can this year,
Yeah.
but we could look at it next year.
Well,
We'll have to
Brooke
look at
has some
A
information.
salary study, I know.
Yeah, and she's broached this to us the last couple of years, and we see the formula. And it's going to become a very much more increasing burden, because all of what's going on now is loading up the healthcare system with unpaid cost, which is going to drive up the cost of the healthcare system for everybody who pays. And that's a fact, it's part of this COVID mess and others. But Matt, your point is well taken.
Yeah.
And over. And
I
I think.
agree with you
I think the
100%.
county manager, Brooke, whoever else, and it's not of this year, but it could be coming out as early as the next year.
Well, just FYI, we have roughly 220 employees. If we charge them $15 per pay period to cover part of that, the premium, that will bring in $85,800. At $20 per pay period, it's $114,400.
Wayne, with all due respect,
So-
in a year like this, until we would
Oh, I
absolutely
understand.
have to.
I'm just
no.
throwing that
Wayne,
out.
is that 220 full-time people, or is that our part-time people also?
That's 220 employees. That's,
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
part-time.
And it
That
doesn't-
includes the part-timers?
yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't, but
But I understand what you're saying. We can't do it now because it's actually too late.
Right.
it is, we're in our year.
But we
In
need
order
to
to
have.
do this, you'd have to start this process now to do it for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just start this thing, you
Yeah.
know, with this.
I understand.
No, I'm not,
I was just
no,
throwing
I
it
know
out
you
there.
do. But the other thing I'd say on this is that we need to look at an overall compensation package.
Yes.
And say, we want a competitive compensation package.
A whole box.
And the competition needs to be, okay, for deputy sheriffs. What's a competitive overall wage and benefit? What is a competitive wage and benefit for somebody in the tax office? That's what we need to be asking. And so, I mean, and the whole, it's the whole picture. So you're right, Commissioner Wagner. It is an important piece of our cadre, if you will, of employee benefits and pay. But I will say this, that your point, Mark, about the pay being real low, and the other point about, you know, we're losing people in the Buncombe County. Y'all-
We're always gonna lose people in
We
Buncombe
may
County.
always, but I would say that I would challenge the paradigm that we can't keep them. And I would challenge it with this way, you know, you have to invest in your people.
Absolutely.
That's the most important
Yeah.
resource that we
Yeah.
have. If we don't do anything else, guys, let's invest in our people. But let's do it because they're our bread and butter. They're gonna make us look good, and let's treat them good, and let's treat them with respect. But let's do it, you know, not because we're concerned about, you know, a $9,000 or $5,000 or whatever expense, but let's do it because it's the right thing to do, and it's what each one of us would want to have done for us. Now, I don't want to saddle the taxpayers with extraordinary expenses either, and I want to make sure that this is done in the most economical and efficient, cost-effective way that we can. You know, and benefits can be looked at, and we could potentially make some changes to those benefits with an eye towards saving dollars and making that program more sustainable, if you will. And so I'm perfectly willing, I've done it before, and I can do it again, you know, and we can look at it together and try to, with an eye towards saving dollars. The one thing I want to be careful, though, is to not gut our benefits plan, you know, and have employees leading us in droves. Because
And-
right
and-
now, we have a real hard time filling.
And I want to be
some
perfectly clear, I'm not talking about gutting our benefit plan. What I'm asking for is the same thing that everybody else does, and they pay a little bit of it. And I'm not
I
saying,
agree with you, man.
I'm not saying you pay for half, I'm not saying they pay for all of it, I'm saying you know, even if it was $10 or $15 a pay period, it's still a better deal than they're gonna get anywhere else from a benefit standpoint. And our salary standpoint, and I know there are areas, we've looked at salaries over the years I've been
Yes.
on this board.
Yes.
And we've done, with you gentlemen included as well, we've done some corrections to our salary
Yeah.
structure.
We have made progress.
I mean this sincerely, I think when a study is done, you're gonna find out that our salaries aren't that uncompetitive when you eliminate Buncombe County from the equation. Now, we
Well, you
live
have
right.
to take Buncombe out of the
We live right
equation.
next door to Buncombe County, but
Right.
Buncombe County also, if I'm not mistaken, makes sure people pay a good bit for their health insurance, if I'm not mistaken.
They do pay. I don't know.
As of a year or two ago,
Well,
I know, but anyway.
I think we're all in agreement with two
Yeah.
facts. Number one,
$300 million.
we've got to look at it. And number two, take the time to look at it, do it right.
All right, we ready?
Okay.
We went through transportation, mass transit operate,
Yeah, that's part of the transportation authority, that's federal, state.
MCTA capital outlay.
Next one is county planning and development.
County planning and development.
4930. No, I didn't see a lot of,
County planning and development?
yes, sir.
Yeah, 4930.
Okay, that's, right there is where where the nonprofits are,
That's correct.
all right? So the nonprofits are more sensitive now than ever.
And
I
there
think we
is a
need to look at-
reduction, let's look at this a minute. Now study this, guys, and study this number. There are reductions in here, only a couple of additions. You need to look at those line items carefully.
Well,
About half of them are community centers, still at their $850. We've not touched that since 2017.
well,
Yeah, so about half these
Well,
numbers are there.
let's talk about, everyone knows, and let's talk about this $20,000 for Beacon of Hope.
That's the new one, yes, sir.
Give me an explanation on why.
Well, they're wanting to distribute food to people, and that's what their plan was. And so with it being the situation where we are right now, you know, that seemed to me as a logical explanation and a logical need.
can that be CARES money?
Donnie?
No.
And I ask that somewhat
Why?
rhetorically.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to wonder that too, same as Matt, because of this, because of the
Well, the
COVID.
reason it can't be CARES money is because the same reason that we've had to do these funds that we're trying to do.
Right.
Because of this emoluments clause, or however you pronounce it. That the state of North Carolina, for whatever reason, we're different than every other state in the union, it seems like. So when it comes to
Yeah.
giving away federal money. But,
Okay.
again, I would encourage anybody here and anyone within earshot and anyone watching at home that if you can donate to Beacon of Hope, donate to Beacon of Hope.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I'm gonna break it out, that we confiscate taxpayer money to do that. So, I would,
Go ahead.
I love Beacon of Hope. I appreciate what they do, and I'll commit right now that I'll make a donation to Beacon of Hope this year, but I don't know that we need to take money from a taxpayer who, some of these taxpayers are the same people who are going there to get food boxes. If you look at it that way.
So, what's these WNC communities we've cut from 2,000 to 1,500 mark? What's those?
I'll have to get it out.
That's a matchup system. Matt, help me on this. That's a matchup system of some.
You know, I think you're thinking of the Community Foundation, Norris?
Yeah, but that's not it.
This isn't, this isn't
That's
Community
not it.
Foundation.
No. Good question, Mark.
Carrie's got the answer to that.
Okay.
Ms. Carey?
Okay, I'll read you their mission statement from their application. And it says that Western North Carolina Communities is dedicated to providing a unique forum for leaders in the mountain region of North Carolina to convene, collaborate, facilitate, and implement programs to improve the quality of life for rural communities and to enhance the economy of the agricultural and forestry sectors.
Okay, so it's ag and forest, right, based.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And what did they request?
2,000.
2,000.
So we cut them 500.
And they've been at 2,000, again, back to 2017,
Forever.
unchanged.
Mr. County Manager, does the state not pay for probation and parole, their parking? Does the state not pay that?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, we've paid that for years. What that is, that's that parking lot down there, I believe it belongs to what, American Legion?
Yeah, it's on Back Street. as they
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I thought with them being state employees, are they not?
Sure are.
Yeah, but we've obviously been paying for that for years.
Yeah, but we provide them with a place.
Yeah, I think that there was, I want to say that came up maybe right when I first came on the
Yeah.
board 5 or so years
I
ago.
don't remember the details.
But there was a reason we had to pay that.
And we had to pay that.
We had to be able to, because they have to have, because
They have
on
to
days
have
when there's court and
court.
stuff, they have to have a dedicated parking space
I
down
understand.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is a, I remember there was a legal requirement.
Yeah, I
We went
Matt,
through.
you're
what it
correct.
was.
And I
We're
just,
required
coming up.
to provide them appropriate facilities near the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come on
okay.
down to Madison Arts Council. We've cut that in half. Can you tell me what they use that money for?
Well, we've really only cut it a third.
Well, it's went from-
Because-
Okay, I'm sorry.
because that
I
was
see
the
the
they
department was
requested-
2015, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So you.
So what do they do with that money?
I think it's educational in nature, is what I understand, as far as the programs that they put out with that.
Primarily programming for kids during the summer, which, you know, this summer has been lost, but next summer,
So do we
you know,
want to cut
hopefully-
that? I'm telling you, I'm all about the education. I don't like cutting education, I don't care what it is.
Well, and I think what you're looking at is that you probably, I would assume that and I'm just making an assumption here, I would assume that the county manager is assuming that some of the money that they didn't spend this year would be able to be rolled over into next year, and considering that we're facing budget constraints.
That wasn't what I was thinking about.
Okay. Does that sound good?
I like it. I'll take it.
And I mean, you know,
What I was thinking is.
there's several of these that I give my own money to, so I mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I wanted to cut any of these or eliminate any of these, but I get your point about taxpayer dollars going to nonprofits, I understand that. But if they're providing a valuable service,
Well, it's just
Right.
it, we're getting more back in it than the money we're getting.
yeah, so.
Come on down to the fairgrounds. We've cut 2,500 there. How are we going to, 'cause are we not solely responsible for the fairgrounds? I mean, what do they use this money for?
That committee raises a lot of their own money too.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Rodeos and
Yeah,
horse shows.
which of course has gone in the tank this year because they're not being able to do any of that stuff so far.
Yeah.
I would assume that, I haven't heard anything official, but I would assume the county fair's probably been canceled.
I'm sure.
I would imagine it would be.
And then,
I'm just asking because of the.
yeah, I think that's what that's for, but I would also assume that, again, money that they didn't spend on county fair this year can be banked for next year's county fair. Does it work that way or not?
No, what
We take that back?
Yeah, the appropriation lapses at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
so
I thought that
on
might
those
be the
things,
case.
But some things we do have an ability and need to carry over, but that's not this one.
I got you.
So is this something we can come back if they say, hey,
Yes.
we need this 2,500.
You know-
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And we
all right.
have
Good,
in the
good.
past have had, you know, a situation, I think one of the first year or two that I was on the board.
Is that any of this here, or is that just, I guess, any of these nonprofits that we're cutting? If they come and say, you know, we didn't get what money, or we're just talking about the fairgrounds?
I think we're just talking about the fairgrounds at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Because that's gonna
theoretically,
be a different thing, because the other nonprofits, we don't have the ability to get the money back if it's not spent.
Okay, all right.
you know, theoretically, we could at any time give additional monies, you know, heaven forbid a community center burns or all these various things. But, yeah, so theoretically, we could.
I'm ready.
As we go through the year, yeah. Now, a couple of these are pretty much set. And what we're talking about, and I know it's small, and we know $850 doesn't pay the light bill. But you guys have heard me say this for years. Many of these community centers are hanging on by a thread. And,
And the elderly people really
yeah, and
use these.
so, you know, I'm sort of reverse go here on you, Matt. That, and I'm not saying take it for $10,000, but if I were going to raise any of these in here, a modest amount, quite frankly, it would go to many of these little community centers who desperately need the money, even to keep the lights on.
Why couldn't we just double that? That would be.
Well, I wouldn't be in favor of a budget like this, you know, it's $850.
But if they're hanging on by a string, is that gonna make a difference?
Oh, I know, it's more symbolic than it is anything else.
I
And
mean,
I'm
I
not pushing
appreciate,
the
I
point.
appreciate what they do, but.
Yeah, but and I'm not pushing the point.
Yeah.
So how do they come up with their other money if this year's not paying the line?
Most of it's out of hand.
That's
Well,
what
they
I'm saying.
rent, like, for example, you know,
Yeah,
like,
but not this year.
right,
Yeah.
but like Beach Glen Community Center, they charge, for people to play basketball, and they,
Well, now Beach Glen's a unique situation.
I understand, but I'm just explaining. And you know, but you've got family reunions, you have community club meetings, you have different things where they actually rent the space
Yeah, but
to have their
again-
meetings. Yeah.
Again, while we're talking about fairness and equity,
Sure.
and I know that's quite a little bit of money, guys, but for a community this size, it is a remarkably little amount of money.
Well, most communities this size don't have that many community centers either, though. We've got a lot more than most
Yeah,
places.
well, I'm talking about the whole pot.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I would maybe
No,
not have a problem with that in a year where we were awash in money.
And I agree, and I'm just
But we got
putting
a
my
tight budget.
my annual plug for those little folks.
Yeah, I get
And
you.
particularly since we had one of them this year that gave us a very valuable piece of property to use in.
I know, and it's not that they're not worthy, but in a situation where we're cutting everywhere else, I mean,
I'll put my plug in when the economy comes back.
I got you, brother.
All right, so do we have any, looks like we got a couple that are under discussion. Arts Council and Beacon of Hope. Am I correct in that?
No, I was just asking what do they do with their money?
Oh, yeah, and it largely goes, you know, the fiddle program and
And
some
I'm
of the
just
music stuff.
making a statement, I ain't for cutting
No, no,
off
no.
on education.
Yeah.
It's just me.
But I'm just consolidating conversation here, 9, whatever it is at 8:44. So I guess I mean, are all the rest of them we're pretty comfortable with, and then we come back to those two?
Which
Yeah.
one, with the,
Beacon of Hope and the Arts Council. Excuse me. Are we good on all the rest of them and except those two?
well, you've got another one there that's had an increase. Is that worthy of discussion or not?
Well, yes.
Which one's that, Matt?
The Community Housing Coalition? If we're gonna talk about the ones that we've increased the
Yeah,
others.
I got it. I got to
What's,
get my eyes focused.
Okay, I see that.
And Mark, comment on that, please. Community housing.
Well, there's no doubt about it that with the state of the housing here in the community, that there are needs here. And so, I mean, this is, to me, a charitable cause that help out somebody that needs it. And I think that without the absence of charity, we don't have anything. And so That's what this is for. It's a slight increase.
Yeah, it is slight, and I would just go back to my original argument that I used on Beacon of Hope. A lot of the people that we're asking to pay the increased taxes are gonna be, you know, the same ones that are, turn around and have to ask for the service.
So we have three then, that are basically subjects of discussion, correct?
Correct.
All right, how are we gonna do this? Mr. Sheriff?
Well, let's take the Arts Council. We're looking at 10 right now.
No.
No?
Yeah, that's what's there.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, you cut it from 15 to 10.
Department's
My
got
bad.
20, it's
My bad.
15, and it's cut to 10, so that's a third it's cut.
Right.
That's quite a bit.
So you cut it.
Yes, it's proposed a $5,000 cut.
Okay, that's what I did.
Yeah, and Mark did that. That was his.
Because I'm looking at the 2020 budget column and the far right one with the manager. So it's 15 to 10,
Yeah. Department's 20,
Mhm.
but
I'm good with cutting,
15.
leaving it.
okay?
Last year it was 15.
Mr. Brigman said he's good with that. What say the rest of you, so we can,
Good with 15 or 10?
No, 10.
I'm good with 15.
okay? We're 15 and a 10.
I can recommend a compromise of 12.5.
Going once, going twice.
Somebody needs to make a motion.
No, I'm for discussion. Compromise of 12.5. But let's get a consensus. I think we know whether we agree or not.
I'm good with 10.
Yeah, I'm good with 10.
Well, it looks like it's 10.
I'm fine with 10.
Okay, so it goes to 10. We're agreed. Now, to the biggie. What, if any, funds are given to Beacon of Hope?
The budget showed 0, and we're asking for 20,000.
20,000.
I'm good with that.
If we were washing money, I would say that's fine, but we're not a washing money. We've got an austere budget. I don't see adding to the budget woes.
Well, let's make this quick. Who's for the 20?
I'm sorry?
I said, who's for the 20?
If it make
Vote
it,
on it? Motion.
No.
Okay.
For the same principal reason that,
Okay.
and Matt and I both donate to Beacon of Hope. So it's not a case.
Okay,
Um,
so 20's off the table. I got
And I
it.
understand where you're coming from. I
So that
really
goes
do.
to 0.
Right.
Okay.
Are we going back, are we going to
Are we
0?
gonna go to 0?
Well, or do
20's
we want
done.
to give them something? I mean, I'm not inclined, but if three of you want to, you're good. I think whatever.
again, I still go back to my argument that in a austere budget where we are cutting everything, we're trying to cut things, I just.
I understand that, but, you know, that we're talking.
I will personally give them money, but I'm not gonna send them $20,000. I will personally give them money.
I'm not going to pull another trick on you like I did once before.
Right.
No.
So, is anybody interested in 10?
I'm interested in 10.
In 10, anybody interested in 10?
I'm interested in 10.
Man, what do you think about 10?
Matt's not interested, I know Matt.
Okay,
About you.
all right.
I would
No,
be
it's a
okay
matter
with
of principle, and I hate to say this because I really know it's a worthy cause. I really do. I know it's a worthy cause, but in this case, Matt and I are on the same page.
Us three's for 10.
Well, if you three are for 10, it's 10.
Oh, all right, you're for 10?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. It's 10,000.
10,000 it'll be.
10K it is.
Reducing that by 2010, okay?
Yeah, it's brand new, $10,000. And believe
Now,
me,
Norris, let
good
that
call.
go now. We got it. We heard you. We
All
heard
right,
you.
now,
Let's
Community
get
Housing
constipated,
Coalition.
let's go.
Community Housing Coalition, I'm going to flip you the other way. I'm in favor of the 10,000.
And that's going up, gentlemen, from 4,200 to 10,000.
I could have swallowed that if you hadn't given 10 grand away just a minute ago.
Hey, we saved 10, man. We went from 20 to 10,
No,
man.
you didn't save anything. You
Yeah, we
didn't.
did.
You're
It was
doing,
20.
you are doing Washington DC math. You didn't save a
5,800,
damn
Matt.
thing.
5,800.
You gave away 10 grand. You didn't save nothing.
Yeah, I did. 20 was in there.
It's the same thing. If you go buy something just because it's on sale and you didn't need it, you didn't save any money.
But
It's
you
the
will-
same thing.
But you will use it.
If you go buy a new shirt because that shirt is on sale, but you didn't need that shirt, you didn't save any money by buying it on sale.
But you're eventually
You
gonna
still
wear it,
spent money.
man. I mean, yeah, man.
So, anyway.
Well, actually, it's 5,800, Matt, because that's not a brand-new funding, it's taking it up.
I
to
understand.
42.
I understand.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going from the
And I
22
give them
budget
money.
into there. Okay, so $10,000, who's in favor for giving them 10?
I'm
Raise your
afraid
right
to give
hand.
them 10.
Ben?
Okay, 10 fails.
Okay.
Do we have another recommendation? We
We're
move
holding
on.
at 4,200, correct?
Oh, the 10 didn't pass?
Correct.
Okay, so now let's make sure we review.
Well, let's just double 8,400 then. Matt, we're saving 1,600.
Not saving nothing.
Sir?
I'd go with cutting it in half, 5,000.
Okay, we have 5 on there. Who would go with 5?
Whoa.
Wait.
No, wait a minute. Mark's actually, we just voted, so.
I want to ask a question to
Yeah.
make sure I'm tracking, okay?
Mhm.
On the Community Housing Coalition, I just heard the chairman say the 10,000 failed.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yes.
and I asked for the 8,400, which is double what they got.
Okay,
I didn't see who voted for the 10,000 for or against. I was just trying to make sure I'm.
These
tracking.
2 were for, these 3 were
Those
against.
3 were against.
So we got 8,400 on the table.
Okay, we have 8,400. So who would be in favor of 8,400? Okay, crickets.
Norris, if you're good with 10, you gotta be good with 8,400.
Well,
Maybe I was
we
persuasive.
gotta move on. I'll go with 8,400.
But we gotta have a third vote.
I know.
Don't have it.
There's no third vote. Okay, this is getting to a break
Do they-
time, guys.
4,200.
Do they not come to us every year and?
A lot of that's passed through grants.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
That's what I'm-
that's not
that's what I'm-
understanding.
Yeah, that does, that's not out
They come
of.
to us with grants and-
All right.
Wayne said
well-
5,000, this is it. Wayne
How
said
much?
5,000. Didn't you say, you said
I said
5,000?
I'll go with 5.
That's 800.
I'll go with 5.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fine.
Man,
that's $800.
Now, let's please review to make sure we got this right. And I think we need to take another little break. 5
yes.
for
Community Housing Coalition is going from $4,200 to $5,000 on Commissioner Brigman's motion.
All right,
Period.
10,000 for Beacon,
Yes.
okay? I'll make sure I get this right. And for Arts Council,
Did it stay the same? Did it go 1,250?
what now?
I thought y'all already decided on 10 for them, did you not?
Yeah, I was just double checking.
Yeah, that's right, Matt. I'm sorry.
They left it the way the county
Yeah.
manager recommended.
Yeah, okay. So for clarification, all the other items stay the same. 3 were changed, okay?
Yep.
Arts Council reduced by 5.
Not by my vote, though.
No, but by consent. A new $10,000 going to Beacon of Hope, and a modest increase of $800 going to the Community Housing Coalition. Am I correct in my notes?
You're accurate.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. And I request a elder break.
Okay. All right, we're on the downhill slide, gentlemen. We can keep moving.
How you figure?
Long way to go. Well, all this other stuff is just talking about what we talked about in here. Yes.
planning and development, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
praise God, yes.
So
We're
Information
tech-
Technology
IT.
Center,
Yeah.
nothing there?
These boys are worth every penny we pay them.
Okay, good deal.
All right, IT.
Cooperative Extension,
4950, cooperative extension. Mr.
What was
Snelson said.
the professional services other again on that line?
That's for all of the contracted services that we have, the joint relationship between us and North Carolina State University.
Yes.
We pay a portion, they pay a portion.
So we're having a sizable
Which line?
increase?
Which line?
And that's on 4950.
1990.
1990, yes, sir.
Okay, that's where we went to, from 178 to 195?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, I'm going back to my Wayback Machine here.
Yep.
okay. Good, man.
Where's Paul? Sorry, no, just kidding. So.
Paul!
No, that's not, I'm kidding. In the past, when we have been faced with this,
Yep.
this is the state raising the salaries. And in the past,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
You say the state raising the salaries that we have to pay, or,
that's what I'm getting to.
okay,
We don't have to pay it.
okay.
We never have before, and the state has made up the difference, and I don't think we should do it this time.
So are they gonna get paid if we cut this out? Let me ask that.
They'll get paid by the state.
If they get paid by the state, but Matt is right. We have in the past consistently, first denied, the state has stepped in.
And I love the people who work in this office.
there's no
But
doubt
if the
they're
state will pay their
wonderful job.
salaries for all the unfunded Band-Aids that they send down the pike to us, let the state pay their salaries.
And we have consistently done that since the three of us have been involved in this
Okay.
process. We're doing nothing new.
You good with that, Mark?
I'm good with whatever the board says to do.
How much is that?
I
Matt,
make that
we
in the
saving?
form of a motion.
Hey, Matt, how much we saving here, bud?
17,000.
No,
No?
no, one from 127 to
No,
195.
178.
Yeah.
Okay,
178.
170, okay. I was
That's
here
okay.
at your.
I know you're giving me more credit than I deserve, but thank you.
Okay.
I wish the heck it was.
Well, I got trust in you, man.
And we're not doing anything we've not done previously.
Okay.
That's right.
As-
This
as
is-
long as this is
this
legal and we-
This
it's
is,
good,
this,
okay.
what I'm proposing has been standard operating procedure in the past.
Yes.
Okay.
And these folks have still gotten, if I'm not mistaken,
Well,
they've still gotten their raises from the state.
We are doing to what Matt and I both recall is what we have consistently done.
Okay, moving on. We've
Wayne, do you
now,
agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. We all agree with that?
Yes.
Finally,
Yeah.
Bingo, consensus.
okay.
Madison County Soil and Water District, 4961.
Any questions on that?
I don't know anything, I don't even know anything about it.
Guys,
It's,
I mean,
Nothing to cut there. Health General,
I will say one thing, without divulging too much, we all need to pray for Tyler.
yes. Mark just told me, I had not heard that
Yeah.
just then.
And the only reason I'm saying is because it's on Facebook, so it's public, but
what?
we need to pray for Tyler.
Going on chemotherapy.
Yeah. Huh? Tyler from Soil and Water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
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 Tyler Ross.
Yeah, okay.
Good
Everybody needs to keep him in
He's
thought and
what,
prayer.
35?
He's young.
he's 32.
Yeah.
He's 32. I taught him at Mars Hill.
Okay. Yeah.
Great, fine young man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't wish that on anybody, what he's going through, but he is going through, I mean, so far, his mind's in the right place, so just leave it at that.
Yeah, we're talking about a very solid
But
person.
keep him in,
Okay.
He's
seriously.
in our prayers.
And if
Health,
anybody wants, I mean,
Yes. He's going on chemotherapy.
May the Lord be with him.
that's right.
Yes.
All right, Health General, 5110. This is the Health Department, I would assume.
it is.
And that has been approved by Matt and his
And
board.
they have a separate
That's
board.
passed
you
over.
good with that, Matt?
All is done.
I know, I have no criticisms that have not already been expressed previously.
Okay. I'd say you and your board approved it.
Well, they do a good job.
Drug-free
They've done a good
community.
job.
They've really been tested this year.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Drug-free community, no problem.
All right. 5120 Drug-free community, I see nothing there as well.
and as you see, Smart Start is zero out, actually.
That's direct offset, if I'm not mistaken.
That
It's
is,
not.
that
Is
is.
this because of the COVID?
No, it went away, it's merged otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
You will see there our next
That category went away.
item is 5208 COVID-19 expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing in that line. We've got some more
That's been zeroed out.
Yep. Right. I have no idea what this next one is. Mine is my
Social Service Administration, is that?
department
Yeah,
expenses.
Don't have the department listed.
Yeah.
That's a collection of,
Grant,
A hodgepodge of different things.
That's a lot of
grant
grants.
pass-throughs.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, you explain, I'm sorry,
Well,
I
I
jumped
mean, you
ahead
know,
there.
there's a combination of different grants that are in this line, or in this department. You've got your home grants, the manufacturing art park, District Project Challenge, JCPC. A lot of these are in here that, drug coordinator, I think where we're
We
splitting
agreed
that
to that.
between the three counties, I
Yes.
think, if I understand that
It's a
right.
long-term
So-
contract.
So that's what this is, and, you know, so.
Okay, I don't see any issue there. Any other commissioner?
All of these have been previously approved in some board action.
I'm fine.
Social Service Administration, Mr. roll on.
Do we have another board and that one, and we have approved that one?
I'm good with that one.
Hold on, I think I had some notes on that.
Social service.
Actually, that is a reduction that changed from even what the DSS board first approved.
Well, but they, I would like to just add that these changes that are made here were made at the suggest and request, correct me if I'm wrong, Kerry, at the DSS Director, Connie
Yes.
Harris.
Okay.
Yes.
So if Connie's good with it, I'm good.
Yeah,
with it.
But I do have a question.
Okay.
Why the change in the salary line increase?
Yeah.
That's a $100,000 increase there.
Well, those, I would say that, I'd have to look at it specifically, but the 2,061 was a request, they reduced that down. I think that this is just for the funding of salary increases that y'all probably gave out last year, that's what I think that is.
This is also reflective of the state requirements for staffing and reorganizational staffing. Craig and I sat on that board. Connie and the board presented to Mark over 2 months ago the comprehensive budget. And it is in the strictest compliance and the most conservative, and without getting into large details, I see Craig shaking his head. Guys, without getting into new, and Connie is a wonderful manager, so we are in compliance. And
Again, none of these suggestions, nothing I'm saying is
Oh,
to
no,
criticize our
absolutely
people.
not. Nobody takes it
But
that way.
one thing that I'd like to just add, that the majority, the lion's share of funding for this department comes from federal and state
that is
dollars.
correct.
They had two open positions too, Matt, we filled in child protective services and adult protective services.
And we eliminated the purchase of one new vehicle this year out of the budget. We're not even going to buy it. Okay, so that's another internal reduction. We actually came in with a budget that was less.
Just asking a question, why a little more.
Okay,
No,
all
and
right,
please,
let's keep
please,
rolling.
if everybody would like to see an internal, the budget is literally an inch thick, okay? Just like the health
DOT
department.
grant,
Yeah.
nothing. Child support.
Satisfied with that answer, man?
All right, Matt, let's hear
Commissioner
it.
Wexler, let's don't.
I'm trying to get 2 pages on now.
I don't know enough about DSS to argue about it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm
I serve on their board, I'm telling you, it's a Spartan budget. I mean, she is very good with her pennies.
that's fine. I mean, I was just curious why we had a $100,000 increase in salaries, and if there were two positions that we
Adult
filled.
protective services and child protective services, yes, sir.
Okay, but shouldn't those have already been in the budget previously? Or no? Were they stripped out?
I think she reduced them because she knew wasn't gonna fill them for a year, but now she's hasn't.
Now they're back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Child support.
Is that what it is?
Yes, and our staffing is mandated.
I know.
Yeah, like.
But again, if they want to mandate it, they can help pay for it.
Well, they
Which
pay
they do.
for it. They
I know
pay
they
for
do.
most
I know.
And we put in enough other cuts, I don't have that right in front of me, but the actual total expenditure to the county share was actually a total reduction.
Cool. Okay.
All right,
So
child
actually
support,
less local dollars.
5373.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Child support,
Alright.
5373, there we go.
We roll on, next page, special assistance.
I didn't see anything in child support that got my attention. Anybody else?
No.
No, I don't have any issues there.
She does a good
Special
job.
assistance,
That's AFDC, federal money coming back in at 75% that next week.
Correct.
State foster care program, medical assistance program, adoption assistance, crisis intervention program,
Yes.
in-home aids.
I mean, it doesn't change much at all.
Yeah. Let's see.
6,000 less than what, right at 6,000 less, correct?
No, we got an increase.
No, from 2020 budget to 121, and the department's 115.
If I'm not mistaken, was that not, that falls, or is that specifically in-home aids, or does that include veteran service officer and everything in that figure?
Mark, explain what that plan of how you're slightly restructuring that.
Well, let's see, where are y'all at in the budget here? I was just,
We are, come right past, Mark, come past child support enforcement. You get past it, it's at 5373.
Yeah, 5370.
It's at the next page, past 5373.
And I don't think that one has anything to do with the veteran service. That's where I
No,
was going. It does not, that's what I was thinking.
Enforcement doesn't have,
That's not in this budget.
This is still DSS.
It is part of this.
Yeah.
I do know, I will say this, we, over the years, and even before I was on the board, we have consistently cut positions from in-home aides.
Now, that was on your transportation division.
Yes.
This is different, this is in-home
And I
aids.
think that was even the people who do it in-home service, because there were people who had retired, and I don't think we ever filled the positions, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's through community services. It's two different animals.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
mixing them, I'm mixing them? Okay.
It's the same types of service, but through two different sources, the way.
Oh, this is in-home aid for,
DSS.
DSS.
my mistake.
Yes,
How's
sir.
that?
I apologize.
No
Sorry.
worries.
No
It
worries.
has something to do with the time of night, guys.
Title III grant.
Pass through.
Is
Child
Title
daycare.
III is a pass-through?
Well,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I got you. Okay, I got it. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
these are either directly mandated based on the qualified
Okay.
citizen participation, the Medicare, Medicaid match.
Okay.
All of the various programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And childcare is a 00 at 5850.
We're,
We missed one?
no, well, Title III grants.
Okay.
On Title III grants, I have a question.
Okay.
Down there on the bottom, raw food.
Yeah, I had that too.
Tell us, we have a pretty good increase in that. What is the,
I think, last time we talked about this, Brooke is anticipating expanding the program, and wants to, get more people, I guess if you will, to come and participate, so that's what that's about.
And they have done what they have done, I can tell you, because I a little bit of, I hear a lot of that because of, on the transportation board, but
Okay.
what a lot of that is there are a lot more people that have been taking advantage of the meal sites.
oh, good.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
now, in the COVID situation, they've actually been delivering meals to
Yes.
those people.
Right.
So that they don't go without food.
Okay.
But Brooke has done a phenomenal job in building the communities to where those community centers, she's gone out, reached out to people in the community.
Yeah.
And before, they were kind of cliquish, and each one's a little different, don't get me wrong. Each one of those communities is a little different, but they don't have the cliques within each community. So, she's done a very good job of of encouraging more people to utilize the program.
Good.
That's a
Yes.
good thing.
Okay.
Am I explaining that correctly, everybody?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Are we now ready to go to
Child daycare.
education? Because child daycare is a pass-through.
Okay.
Yes.
Education.
Education, I think
Of
we've
the
already
school
done
system
theirs,
budget.
have we not?
Let's see, hold on.
Remind me the increase
163?
Yes.
from, 6310, 5911, 6310.
$160,000 increase related to the
Inmates,
Class size.
No, that's the class size
okay,
thing,
yeah.
right?
Class size.
K3,
and
that's
the
what
state
I-
mandated that.
And I know there was discussion about postponing that. I'm assuming it didn't get postponed.
I haven't heard that it's been postponed.
I haven't either. I was just
No,
wondering.
At this point, to the best of my knowledge, it's still mandated.
Yeah, Dr. Hoffman said he didn't see that it was gonna.
You don't think it's gonna be, or it's done wiped out?
I do not, I think it has been put off.
Okay, but
I don't
is that
think it's
legal?
mandated for the upcoming year. Now, I'm saying that simply because when Yancey County did their budget,
53, or I'm sorry,
they
59,
did not
11.
do an increase because it was their understanding that it was not mandated this year.
But, are they for sure, what I was asking, if we don't put it in there and then we're $160,000 short, what are we gonna do?
I think you may want to make a phone call just to make sure, but that is my understanding, is that it is not mandated. But, I mean, that's a lot of money. I think you need to know exact answer to that.
That's a penny right there, ain't it?
Well,
So, let me ask you this question.
250's a penny.
If we put it in there and it don't happen, we don't have to give it, right? But, or am I
No,
wrong?
for school, if it's just like the sheriff, you're handing them a pot of money, and once you give it to them, you don't get it back.
What you could do is that you could not put it in there, put it over into contingency
Okay.
right now. Just move it over into contingency, and then you can move it back. if
as a
you need it.
specific line item in reserve.
Yes.
Okay.
I ain't for
Right,
cutting it,
Mark?
but I'm fine with contingency.
I like Donnie's suggestion, that gives you the option of having it there as a placeholder, having.
I just didn't want to
funding.
mark it off.
But if they need it, you got it.
You got it, it's already
Whereas-
appropriated, yeah, but it is on an as-need basis.
But if in fact it has been,
That's for those two extra.
what's the right word,
And-
installed,
That's
put
for
on
the
the
class
blade,
size, thinking that you're gonna have K through
K3,
three,
yeah.
that is lower in
You're,
the
yeah,
class
you're
size.
limited to, what is it, 18 or 19?
I don't remember what the magic number is. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Y'all
So-
go on, I'll find you an answer.
Okay,
to that.
thank you, Donnie.
Yes,
So
thank
we
you,
will
Donnie.
not take that as a savings right now. That's going to contingency. Okay, gotcha.
Leave it alone, we come back to it when we get
He's gonna
saved.
see if he can find us an answer.
Well, we'll put it in contingency either way.
But right now, the pending would be that it would go as a line item reserve.
Okay.
And with the 4042 funds here, I know that they've requested, I know it's less than it has been in the past. Does that still meet our previous requirements? Do we require that they, or am I mixing this with a different thing? I know we were requiring that they had 2 payments kept back in reserves.
This
That's a
doesn't
different
affect
line,
that at all.
right?
Yeah, different fund.
Let me try to answer that question for you. All right, the revenues that are gonna come in will be sufficient to cover this 833. The county will not have to tap in to those two payments that
Payments.
we have in reserve. They'll still be in reserve at the end of this fiscal year, just like they are now.
Okay.
So this, we're talking reserve money, is that their money, we're just holding it in reserve? Is that what I'm?
The answer to the question is yes.
Okay.
It's earmarked by state law. In other words, it's restricted. It can only be used for.
So does the state law say we have to keep 2 in there?
No, that's the deal for the building of the early college.
Okay, all right.
School board, we made that deal with them.
Yeah, and that was a unanimous vote by both boards.
That's right. That was, and that's why I want to make sure that remains upheld, because this board voted on that, and the school board that Mr. Goforth, the Chairman Goforth served on at the time, voted on that.
Sure did.
And well, just making sure that we're,
Yep.
We're Gene and Holland.
And looking at uncertainty next year, that would be a year we could burn one of those payments to help balance the budget.
Right.
As long as we hold, and if we don't, we pay it off 2 years early.
Okay,
Yep.
let's keep rolling.
AB Tech?
Good.
AB Tech looks
Good, Wayne.
good.
Wayne, I want to compliment you, I've done it before. AB Tech has invested a pot full of money. They're doing a bunch of stuff even now, the bathrooms, all this other stuff. So you and Francis and
Yeah.
Teresa and the other folks and all they've delivered.
Yeah.
Buncombe County's
Well
helped us
done,
here.
sir.
We are pushing to
Yeah,
keep.
you've been
keep
very
Madison
successful.
County.
And board members from Madison County, have been, after a long struggle to get some stuff, and the current expenditures are 6 figures on that building. We are not having to put a penny into it yet. So,
We'll get down there for a meeting.
Library?
Yeah,
okay, keep going.
Library.
Library?
I'm good with
I
that.
saw nothing wrong with the library in my mind, it looked good.
Okay.
Okay.
Parks and Rec?
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Parks and Rec is a bare bone.
Put it quiet.
Let me ask the question. Carrie made, Carrie, last year, was I cheering things, or did he didn't get a raise last year, did he?
Yes, he did.
Are you sure?
He got one when they
But
were.
I remember us discussing
I don't
this.
think so.
I think,
not?
because if I remember correctly, Forrest said he didn't. So, is that something that we can put in this time, or is it too late?
I thought it was. Yes.
Wayne?
What's that?
Well,
So is that something
our
too late?
phones are burning up, and he just texted. This is a phone call from our superintendent, who's clearly watching.
Good.
And
Go ahead
if
now.
no one objects,
Go ahead.
I don't think it's out of order.
That's fine.
No, I mean,
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent. Nice to know you're watching the meeting. Oh, well, I think I lost him.
You hung up on us.
No, the service in here is terrible.
No, you bloviated too long. You just-
Yeah.
Will, we did not hang up on you.
Well, he ought to
Right
know
there.
he's gonna be answering the phone if he's watching live.
What I'm asking here with the Parks and Rec, he didn't get a raise, because I remember, and I don't remember the reason that Forrest said he didn't.
Oh, he did.
He didn't, but he is pretty much a one-man show, am I correct?
He is, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we
So,
can do.
and we're, and I know we're in a position, you don't want to give no raises, but the man didn't have.
Well, if he didn't get one, he
Hey,
didn't
Will.
get one.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
and you hear me, I know you're watching, so I'm gonna put you on speaker, give me just a minute.
Okay.
All right,
Hey, Will.
superintendent's on speaker.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Will.
Hey, Will.
Hey, thank you. I'm just watching y'all live. And hello, good evening. Appreciate your hard work. I just spoke with Richard Bostic, who is our legislative aide at North Carolina School Board Association. There is one omnibus bill still in the Senate tonight, but it does not include the K-3 class size mandate. So what we're looking at is that is still the law, the K-3 class size, as of tonight.
It's
All right.
the law, the understanding is that it is the average across the system, is that right?
Always.
Are you hearing our lawyer, Will?
I'll come.
Okay.
My understanding is that the mandate is 21, and it's the average across the system has to be less than 21. You can have no class size that's over 21. I guess the question is, with what's coming up with COVID and virtual schools, are you going to potentially have a class, given those concerns, that's going to be above the 21 class size?
Yes, Donnie, right now, kindergarten across the district is over the class size requirements, and second grade as a district. So when you look at growth at Mars Hill and the potential for consolidated classrooms at Hot Springs, we need these 2 additional teachers and teacher assistants for the class size legislation as it stands in the law now.
Okay.
Good enough for me?
Thank you, Will. Anybody else have a question?
No, thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Will, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, guys.
Take care, bye-bye.
Have a good night. Thank you.
So leave as is.
Is that is exactly
It's the Jerry
right.
Lewis giving
It's
us
21 across it's a 21 average. It's no class more than 21. And it's totally dependent upon the school system to determine those averages. The thing that's really up in the air with a lot of school systems is, given the COVID and potential virtual classrooms and parents not sending their kids. A lot of folks are thinking that we're not gonna have that, but by all means, I think you should defer to what your Board of Education's
I do
projections
too.
are.
I say
Because
we
they
leave it
know
alone.
what they have in their particular schools, and you certainly don't want to run into there being a problem and you not funding it. So
That's right.
Will
Let's leave it in there.
obviously said he's got a situation in Hot Springs and one in Mars Hill. And if he's projecting numbers above that, then you
Okay.
need to put it in your budget to fund.
We're
it.
good?
Good with that.
Okay, all right, we're at Parks and Rec now.
All right. All right, back to
Y'all get excited about spending money, man.
Oh, hey, hey.
Spent on kids, it's well spent.
No, I just love those little kids.
Hey, I love kids too, brother, but I still don't love.
Matt, you don't like kids? You hate kids?
Donnie, thank you. And
Yeah.
I want to thank this board because this is taking the time and doing it right. And that's what we're doing.
Let's roll on.
Now,
Debt
no,
service.
no, let's come back to your payroll question. We didn't
Parks
settle
and Rec,
it.
6130, payroll.
Dan didn't get a raise, but we can deal with this later.
Well, we can come back to it later. We haven't built in any
County
pay
manager said
raises.
he's gonna handle it.
But Mark, you're gonna, so, yeah, we're good. Okay, keep going. So we're good with that, keep going.
Is there any line item here anybody would like to think we might need to bump a little bit or
Well,
something?
now, you've got debt service, well, I'm sorry.
What are you on?
Parks and Rec, I'm
Parks
just
and Rec,
saying.
okay.
He has a pretty pitiful budget, does he
I'm
not?
telling you,
Well, guys, the only problem is where do we start and where do we stop?
well, we gotta start somewhere.
Agreed.
I mean, we could spend, and many of us would like to spend. If we were going to do anything in terms of an investment, I would truly like to see that ball field at Walnut used. That's a super ball field.
I'd
move-
Probably in
I'd
better
like to
shape.
get these up here finished, don't know where we're at that, but, you know, that's later on.
But
Let's roll
again,
with this.
we've got, and I know right now we're not
Right.
using them,
Right.
but we got a first-class ball field out there, probably one of the nicest in the county, and you can play baseball on that field.
I
You can play high
agree.
school baseball on it.
I agree completely, and there is importance in this department, but in a budget year like
I
this,
know.
it's a luxury.
I know.
Okay,
It's not a necessity, it's a luxury.
and I think that we just put that in there for next time. Okay, understood. Debt service is next, 7,000,
That's auto.
okay? All right, debt service interest is next, the same. Fund transfer out, I have no idea what that means. 9,900 for the reevaluation, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a reserve.
Yeah.
We have to constantly
Build for
fill
the
that
next
reserve.
Yeah, exactly.
That's got that
Yeah.
done.
Okay,
And the next one is 6 or 8 years.
I'm sorry.
It's 8.
Say, it's every 8 years.
But I thought,
No, they're
didn't
going to 6.
they change the legislation that it's gonna,
We
You
can.
can change it if you,
Again, Donnie.
Okay.
We can lower that. We can
but
do
we're
it
okay
more
with
often.
staying today?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Well, you
then,
you can go to every 40 years or ever however you want to, but
Buncombe does.
no 8 is the standard.
yeah, you must do it at least every 8 years. Correct.
I thought there was a requirement that we start scaling it down, that the state wanted everybody to be on 4.
Not that I'm
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, good deal.
I stand to be corrected.
That is our summation on the budget, line item by line item. You certainly have the information here to your right that we've already covered at other times there, but it is just more discrete details than what we've already gone over here in the Gestalt as far as the big picture. So now brings us, did we do the fire tax?
Nope.
Nope.
Do what?
Fire tax.
Fire tax, that's why we said we're gonna do that and outside the budget, that's exactly correct. Thank you, Mr. Brigham. Where is that, what tab's that under?
I don't know what it's under.
It's gonna be,
He may
it's
have
under
a
this,
handout on that.
it's under the,
911, isn't it?
Fund 15 Fire Department, Fund 15.
Yeah, there
Oh,
it
yeah,
is.
okay, I
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
My tabs are sticking together.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, very good. Department 3187 fire tax, very good, thank you. Okay. Discussion?
I'll start by saying, I know some departments do fundraisers, some don't. Spring Creek did 4 fundraisers last year, which totaled, was right at $8,000. Laurel does great on fundraisers. They do the 2 barbecues each year, and they raise, I would say, I don't know for sure, but probably same amount of money. So their fire tax is, where's that at?
It's also 3, I think.
It's also 3. So they are wanting to go up to 4, Spring Creek is. And you know how I feel about all fire departments. I can't do my job without fire departments. There is no earthly way. So these people are volunteer. They are expected 36 plus hours a year for training, and they do a whole lot more. And they put in more than 36 hours a year to come out. Most of their calls is medical. It's not fire. Fire's normally I'm not even going to guesstimate, but I would say 70% or 80% of their calls is medical. We're an hour from a hospital in some places, hour and 10 minutes some places. And some of the things we see, and I'll just put it out there, have you ever had a kid's brains on your hands?
No.
No, most people's not, or the stuff that you see, people mangled, or having to tell somebody, I'm sorry, your loved one didn't make it, your child didn't make it, your mom or dad. Where I'm going with this is these people get up out of bed 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're volunteer, and all they got to do is turn over and turn that radio off. They're volunteer, they don't have to go, but day in, day out, regardless of time, they go. So I'll just be honest with you, I'm for this 1% tax, and that's why I'm for this 1% tax. And I think all the fire departments is good.
Well, I'll speak up. I was for the 2 cents before. I think many of them are not properly, I know, we compromised on 1.
But they asked for 3.
I know.
All right, just,
But I was ready to go with 2.
I know.
We have a couple of departments that are well off, and we have some that it's amazing that they can roll the truck out the front yard. I do not see that 1 cent being unjustified, and I will support that additional 1 cent.
Mark, can I ask you a hypothetical?
Yes, sir.
And I'm asking you, directing this to you just because you have way more experience in this area than I do.
Yeah.
Just like I would expect if it were
Insurance-wise,
something.
I'd ask you.
Right. So, for an apartment their size, what would be an adequate amount of money for them to have in the bank? What do you think? I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to set you up. I'm just curious.
Well, to be honest, when it comes to fire department budgets, I honestly couldn't give you that amount.
Okay.
I do know they got to pay for training. I do know they got to replace vehicles. And when you go to replacing vehicles, well, for instance, when I was on the board in Hot Springs, 1 fire truck was $150,000.
Sure.
They've gotten 1 on a grant down there before. We put in for.
Right. I was there when Senator Burr gave it to them.
Right.
Delivered it.
So that's probably something, honestly, I couldn't give you an answer. And what you got to look at, like this year on their raising money. They missed Bluff Mountain Festival. That was a big, probably a $4,000.
Well, and I would assume
weekend
Laurel
for
took a
them.
big hit too, because they couldn't do the dine-in thing, they had to
Right.
do all dine-out. So,
Right.
You good?
Go ahead.
Did they do good?
Let me ask a question. Do you know what the
I need to send them a check,
increase
'cause I didn't
in
get
the
to go.
property valuations were for the Spring Creek Fire District? Has anybody considered that their budget is gonna increase
Yeah.
relatively significantly?
well, and
just
I asked that
because of
question,
the-
but I couldn't, I didn't get really, I was told that it didn't change for some reason, I don't understand why it doesn't.
I did are you talking about the revenue neutral?
No, I'm
No,
talking
no, no,
about
the property
just for the
values of their
Spring
fire
Creek
district.
Township Fire District.
Yeah, how
You
much
know,
did
they're-
that property
they're-
value increase?
Yeah,
So they're getting more.
they
I
would.
get it.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's working on
If you
it.
had a, what'd you say, a 25 or 30% increase in valuation across the,
But I
25.
don't think it did in that district. Let me
that
get
would be,
Yeah.
I think you really need to look at that,
Yeah.
because your other districts,
Done
if
better than
their
others.
valuations increase,
Yes.
their fire tax collections are gonna go way
Yes.
up,
Right.
even if it stays
Well,
the same.
there was rumors a couple other fire departments were gonna raise, and maybe that's why they didn't ask for it.
Well, the ones that talked to me about it, I said, look, considering all things, with what we're going through, what public has gone through, the fact that we're going through revaluation, nobody really knows what the end result of that's gonna be. If you're gonna ask for an increase, let's wait till this all shakes out before you ask. Now, I wasn't consulted by Spring Creek Fire Department, because they're not, by the emails I got the last time I opened my mouth, I obviously am not, they're not fans of mine, and I understand that. But I guess the other thing also that I think is worthy of consideration, and this is what I want to ask you, because I know you know more about this stuff than I do. If they get the other penny, even if they don't get any money, any additional money because of the revow, but if they get another penny, then that's going to knock them up out of their grant match that they get, which is currently 75-25, right?
I have no idea. on
Okay,
that.
if they get under 50, my understanding is if they have under $50,000 worth of tax revenue, they qualify for 75-25 match. If they go over 50,000, then it drops, I think, to a 50-50 match. Am I correct on that? Does anybody know?
Yeah, on the state grant. If they go over the 50,000 threshold of revenues, then it goes to a 50-50 match with the state. If they're below 50,000, it's 75-25, state paying 75.
So if they're gonna buy a truck, if they're looking at buying trucks or big ticket purchases, that's a big difference.
Well, the answer to the question that somebody asked earlier, this particular fund, or this particular portion of the tax digest in Spring Creek, the values went down. They went from 173 million and almost 174 million down to 173 million. So
they stayed about the same.
This actually went down. So
Right.
that actually means that in order to generate the same amount of revenue, you'd have to increase your millage.
But, I mean, the grant match, is that not a worthy thing that should be taken into consideration?
Well, they should, I guess, took that in consideration when they put in for the 1 cent.
Well, I would assume so, but I don't know. I've gotten burned by assuming things in the past.
When you say that, what are y'all asking? I didn't quite catch all that. They're over the 50.
The state grant, whenever and you're not guaranteed to get the grant, correct?
So if they're
Very
over,
much
they're
so.
over.
No, you're not guaranteed to get a grant, but I mean,
On the
the
state
the more rural you are, the more likely you are to get them. I mean,
If you follow the
if you do the
process, you
paperwork
most likely
properly.
will get the
On the
grant.
state grant, unless
Yeah.
you're exorbitantly ridiculous in your request, the state pretty much rubber stamps whatever you ask.
Now FEMA's are difficult, a little more difficult to get, but the FEMA grants are 95.
Yeah, that.
Percent.
I've got FEMA grant there in
Yeah.
Hot Springs.
I have to.
Just for the record, for all of your information, when we started this process, I don't think that the county has been doing the rollback millage rate calculations for the fire tax. At least that was something that I was made aware of. When I talked with Lori, she was not aware that you had to do it. And I said, you do, and so she did some checking with the state, and the state told her, yeah, you do, the county manager's right. And so, anyway, not trying to brag or anything like that, but the bottom line is that we did do what we were supposed to do, and we have provided you with the information that is the rollback rate versus what we're recommending in order to get the revenues.
I got you.
I know I'm not supposed to speak, but I'd like to clarify one thing on the state grant. The downside for them is the state requires them to pay for everything up front.
Yes.
And then beg and plead to get the state to give them back the 75 or 50.
It's actually a reimbursement.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, Mike.
FEMA grant, FEMA, you only pay your 5%, FEMA pays the rest, you don't have to pay for the whole thing.
Are we to a point of voting on?
I think we are, I mean,
We
Matt's made.
need to, because we said last time that we were gonna vote on the budget, and we're gonna vote on the fire tax separately. Heard everybody say that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Here we are, Mr. Chairman. I will move that we grant the Spring Creek Volunteer Fire Department the 1 cent that they have requested.
I will second that.
Any further discussion, gentlemen? That being said, who all is in favor? Okay. 3-2?
3-2.
You opposed?
I didn't hear him call for a vote.
Yeah.
Opposed, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
give 'em a
Okay,
chance
yeah.
on this.
Sorry. I just assumed if it wasn't for, I
No,
apologize.
that's a proper assumption. But for the record, I guess Mandy needs
Okay.
it.
All right, are we now to the millage?
Now we're the millage.
We're to the millage rate now.
We are.
All right, now, I'm gonna, if I may, please have a change of subject.
We're to the millage rate.
Going in to tonight, I was an advocate for 51. After what we have done tonight, because we closed a huge portion of that gap with the $20 on the card, I am good with 50. I will not request 51.
And in summation, thanks to Commissioner Wexler and everybody else, but give him kudos where kudos are there, we cut $142,000 out of this budget tonight. So, yeah, I've been keeping up with it. That's important.
Yeah.
So we are in a better position than where we were yesterday. So thank you, all of you. Thank you. Being that said, we have a discussion on 50. Is that in the form of a motion, Commissioner Gentry?
No, I would like discussion.
Okay.
I'm just saying that.
I'm good with 50. You know, when Norris had brought up 51 in the last meeting, I agreed with him because I didn't want to get later on in the year and just not have, you know, just be broke. But since the way this has went and with talking to Sam, I'm good with 50.
Well, and what we've done, we have made the accommodations to where the 51, I think, is not necessary. I'm still worried about the reserve. We'll be 110% honest with everybody. I still think we're operating breathtakingly close, way closer than any of us do personally, or would ever operate personally, or any business interest that we might have. We would never budget this thin a reserve.
No,
And that's a
I
fact.
agree, but
We
I'm
would.
good with 50.
And it's, again, but guys, I'm perfectly happy to come off 51 and go to 50,
Now, Matt, chime in.
which is what the county manager has recommended is 50.
I think I've already said my piece. The county manager recommended 50. That was before we made changes for the collection rate, which I still personally feel is too low. And then with the additional money that was cut out, I still, and obviously, several of the cuts that I suggested, and I'm not trying to be petty, several of the cuts I suggested didn't get the vote. So I understand. I know where it's going, and I appreciate for the victories that you guys gave me. I appreciate that. I'm still at 46. That is the revenue neutral budget. Then that is what I feel I have promised the taxpayers that I would fight for,
Okay. I respect it.
and was quoted in the paper saying that months ago.
Wayne?
Well, I'm with Matt, you know, I think 46, it being revenue neutral, I think that's fair enough. I think that's where we should be. I understand that with the figures and the collection rate, you know, we changed the collection rate, so.
I just think we run so close and.
That's what we're supposed to do.
And I don't want to, I mean, I bet you don't run your household on getting down to zero every
But-
2 weeks.
We're-
You've got you some,
His home is is for profit.
That's a good point, thank you.
Yeah.
There have been times in my life, fortunately not right now, but there have been times in my life when I did.
me too.
Because I had to.
Me too.
And right now, that's what we have to do considering the circumstances we're in. And I appreciate that, I mean, it's a perfect analogy, but right now, the county is where I was at those times. And at those times, that's when you have to make the hard cuts.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, and there's times, hey, look, there's people. No, I
Really?
should, no, I can't say, because I'm violating the trust if I say that. I'm not going to say that. No, I'd be violating someone's trust if I said it, so I'm not going to say it. But there are things even today that I choose to go without because I am owed money by other people.
We probably
Okay.
all are.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people in this situation. But in no way am I asking for anybody to feel sorry for me. That's not the point of my comment. But my point is there are times that you have to make hard cuts. Even when things on the outside look rosy, there's times that you have to make hard cuts. And this is one of those times where we need to make hard cuts. And in my opinion, we're not making hard enough cuts. And I voted against the budget last year for the first time ever. And I was criticized because I didn't offer up enough solutions. I feel like I've done my due diligence in trying to offer solutions to get to a more palatable budget, and I'll just leave it at that.
If we leave it, we have 50 on the floor and 46 on there. Mr. Pulliam, if we leave it at 46,
I think he's.
Mine wasn't made in the form of a motion technically yet,
Well, right,
because
okay.
we still have one motion on the floor.
let's just say there's no motion, I'll just say this is a discussion.
Okay.
We have a 46 and a 50. Would we have to cut out of this particular budget right now if we leave it at 46?
Yes.
46,
you have
what
to
about
cut
$1 million?
You'd have to cut another $1 million out of it.
$1 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so, let me just kind of recapture some of the big cost drivers, just for the record, so that everybody will understand. The EMS cost for the ambulance is about $630,000 additional dollars. We have $160,000 to the K through 3 additional outlay that we didn't have this year. We have about $110,000 related to the local government retiree match, which went up a percentage. So
Mandated by law.
and that's $800,000 anyway you slice it, you know. So, I mean, yeah, you're talking $1 million to $800,000. There's no, I mean, you can, I don't know what we'd cut. We'd have to cut whole departments at this point in juncture in order to balance this budget
At 46.
at 46.
So that's taking into consideration us going to the compromise of 93.5, which gives us 115,000 savings, and the Board of Elections and the co-op of our $142,000 savings. That still would be $1 million.
Yes, sir. It'd be $1 million.
Okay.
And increasing your tax collection rate?
Well,
Or are you still figuring that million at the 92.92
Well,
and a half?
I've included the adjustment that we
The
talked
93.
about, the 93 and a half.
And we're still $1 million short.
Yes, sir.
That's what I just asked. That's what I asked. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How's that work? That's
Well, if there is no other, and I think we know where we are, guys.
Yeah.
That's so bad. I will put it in the form of a motion that the tax levy for this year be set at 50 mil.
I'll second
Could I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, sir.
In the recommendation that the county manager made, it showed a collection rate of 92.5. Do you want to add the collection rate that y'all agreed to at 93.5?
Oh, yes.
As
Oh,
part
yes.
of that motion?
Absolutely. Yes, that's agreed to. Yes,
The
sir.
majority agreed to, not
Well,
y'all.
Right. No.
that. Right.
Well, I'm
That-
saying collectively.
The majority agreed to it, not y'all. I just want to be clear about
Yeah,
that.
I will certainly add that, that was my suggestion to my own
Well, you
motion.
agreed to it, right?
No,
No,
93.5, you didn't
No.
agree?
No,
to
sir.
it?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
no.
No, you was talking 94.
I think a minimum of 94 and a half.
94.5.
I was with 95.
All right.
I say
I
leave
got you.
92 and a half and do it.
But-
No, I have no problem with it with a 93.5. We agreed to that. That was, and I'm cool with it.
No, I said, I'm fine with the 92 and a half that he's proposed.
Yeah, well, I think, unfortunately, and I said
This
this
is
before, that
just-
may be closer to what, yeah. So, any other things, Donnie, that need to be put in that resolution?
I think the best thing to do, and Mark, with the adjustments, you've got several things in a budget. Jim's have been doing things sort of piecemeal and voted on those. Do you have the modifications in the budget?
Yes.
I think it would be best to share that with them and then vote on the
Are you
budget.
saying for the 93 and a half compared to the 92? Is that what you're talking about?
No, he's talking about the summary now of all of these
The
changes.
summary
Okay,
of
okay, yeah, all right,
everything.
that we made the one.
If
for-
Mark
yeah,
will go over all of the summary of all the modifications, and
Okay.
as you've got right now,
Agreed?
and then vote on that budget after he gives you the summary.
With the summary and modifications.
What he gives you will be the whole budget.
Agreed. Agreed.
And let him tell you the salient modifications that's been made to it. Because I think he and Carrie have been making those
They
as
have.
we've been going along.
They have.
And I just want
Do
to.
you agree, Mr. County Manager?
I do, Mr. County Attorney, I agree.
I think that's the way it normally is done.
Yes. And so, it'll take me just a minute. She's got everything tabulated. It'll take me just 1 second to make the changes to
My wife didn't know we had a meeting tonight. She keeps wondering why.
Cynthia's doing the same thing.
I swear I told her. She says I didn't tell her.
It must, Matt, it must be a female thing. Cynthia's the same thing, burning my phone
Well,
up.
man, can I give you some advice? Just say, just say you're wrong and be done with
I
it.
sent my message in a meeting, I want to be one.
So,
You look great, Carrie.
yeah, I told mine.
Craig, you gonna look at your phone again this year when you vote on the budget?
What's that?
Last year, you were looking at your phone on the budget vote.
Yeah, but you know why, right? I told you why, Mr. Moon.
Why is that?
I was looking at the numbers, the figures. That's where I had to put them on there.
It looked like you needed to get out of it.
Well, no, I really did. I told you that. Wait, what time's your flight in the morning?
7. Time you got to be there,
Well,
5.
just 5.
Where are you going through? You said you didn't have a direct in there.
Asheville, Charlotte.
Okay.
I thought you meant you had to be in Charlotte at 5. I'm saying,
They used to have a direct flight every day.
Yeah, and then they cut it back to Saturday.
Yeah, it's a flat we do.
And I can't fly on Saturday because they're not in the
Well, hell,
office.
you'll spend more time in Charlotte than you will in the air.
Yeah.
only 30 minutes, 20 from here.
Where you flying to?
Detroit.
Detroit.
Detroit, Michigan.
Well, who happens to have a really nice airport.
They do.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
I've flown in Detroit because you used to not be able to fly to Toledo
Right.
from here. So
Well,
we'd have
and
to
it-
fly to Detroit and then drive to Toledo.
I mean, if you go to Vancouver or Seattle, they have a direct flight out of there. And, yeah.
They made a decision of doing 2 7-week classes. They were discussing that,
But actually, they really do have a nice city
They'll
airport.
start the 18th, go to October, something there to right before Thanksgiving, and you're done.
Have they built a casino in the airport yet, like Las Vegas did?
No.
No, but
Because I know it's in well, no, it's in Windsor, isn't it? Yeah, it's right across it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Windsor, yeah.
Windsor.
I want to say Montreal, didn't I? No, I don't think Montreal did.
Or is it Quebec?
What is it?
Laval, I flew into Laval. That's Windsor, yeah, Ontario.
They have a casino in the Toronto airport.
Okay, that's where it was, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we about got killed flying into Toronto.
Oh, that's.
Dude, we had,
I tried to drive in Toronto, about got killed. It's worse
well,
than New York City.
actually
Oh,
not
hell,
flying
it's a
into
big
Toronto,
city,
actually.
guys.
We had a connection in Philly. We had a connection in Philly. Philly's where we about got killed.
Oh, man.
I mean, it was literally one of those deals where
Guys,
we're coming
should we
into
take-
land, and all of a sudden, just full throttle straight up, and you could look out the window and watch a plane go underneath us.
All right, I know we're tired, and while they're working on this, should we take a little recess
Yes.
of any sort and give them a few minutes to do that? And
Yeah, yes.
would that be appropriate?
Yep.
You guys tell us when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay?
That's not gonna send coffee in or something. We're back in session.
All right.
We're gonna have the county manager go over the high points of the changes.
Okay, at this point juncture, we've summarized all the changes that have been made up to this time. There were a total of $43,132 worth of reductions to the general government, changing that line item from $2,692,878 to $2,649,746. Okay. Public safety, we added $3,000. That's animal control, so that increased that from $6,674,665 up to $6,677,665. We have increased the contingency by $165,918 to bring that to $347,519. The total.
I got a question. That wasn't the school thing, the 165 was, okay, I was just making sure. Okay.
No. And then on the current year real property taxes, we increased that from $11,635,280 to $125,700. Added $125,786 to get it to $11,761,066. So with that, those are the changes and how it has impacted this budget ordinance, and so I can read.
And the Spring Creek Fire Department, it's
Yeah, the Spring Creek Fire Department is, I think y'all have already voted on.
Oh, yeah,
that.
but it increased their projected revenue to $65,000. Okay, I'm good.
So,
And it also includes the trash card increase that you guys.
That is
voted for,
correct.
right?
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
all right, so with that being said, the budget ordinance has been updated. The total appropriations in section 1 total $25,977,340. Section 2, the estimated revenues for the general fund, $25,977,340. In the section 3, the fire district fund, shows appropriations of $1,349,953, and estimated revenues $1,349,953.
I got a question, Mark.
Yes, sir.
On this, does this include the 1 cent on?
It does.
Okay, thank you.
Then section 5, for vehicle tax funds, shows the amounts appropriated for the towns, and then section 6 is the actual estimated revenue, total of $107,000 for both of those. In section 7 and 8, for the occupancy tax funds, the county will receive about estimated $205,897 in revenue, and has appropriated the same amount for expenditures. Sections 9 and 10 for the emergency 911 telephone system, the appropriations and estimated revenues from the telephone surcharges are $207,746. And in the landfill fund, the amount of appropriations is $2,050,922, and the amount of estimated revenue is $2,050,922. The section 13 and 14 are for the county's soil and water conservation fund, and the appropriations and the revenues are $38,472. In section 15, there is hereby levied a tax rate of, that needs to be changed. There's a typo, that should say 50 cents there. I see a typo in that one. So that should say 50 cents per $100. Valuation of property tax listed as of January 1, 2020. For the purpose of raising revenue included in the 2020 ad valorem taxes, general fund section 2 of this ordinance. For comparison purposes, the revenue neutral tax rate is 46 cents per $100. This rate is shown since 2020. It was a revaluation year. the rate of revenues is based on an estimated total valuation of property for the purpose of taxation of $2,515,736,130 at an estimated collection rate of 93.5% and an estimated valuation of vehicles of $176,851,367 and a collection rate of 99.5%. Section 16, for the purpose of, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021, the compensation for the chairman of the Board of Commissioners is $7,702 per year and a monthly travel allowance of $685. The compensation of all other members of the Board of Commissioners is $5,269 per year with a monthly travel allowance of $400. The county manager shall serve as the budget officer and hereby authorized to transfer appropriations as contained herein under the following conditions. The county manager shall be authorized to transfer amounts between line item expenditures within the department without limitation and without report being required. These changes should not result in increases or recurring obligations such as salaries. Section B, the county manager shall be authorized to effect interdepartmental transfers in the same fund not to exceed 10% of the appropriated monies for the department whose allocation is reduced. Notation of all such transfers shall be made to the board during their next regular session. Interfund transfers established in the budget may be accomplished without board approval. The county manager is hereby restricted from transferring appropriations as contained under the following conditions. The utilization of any contingency appropriation shall be accomplished only with the board's approval. No salary increases may be made without board approval, except when granted in accordance with an official pay plan adopted by the Board of Commissioners. Interfund transfer of monies, except as noted in Section 17, Paragraph C, shall be accomplished by the board only. No travel advances may be made without written permission of the county manager. This ordinance shall be the basis of the financial plan of Madison County during the 2021 fiscal year. The county manager shall administer the budget and shall ensure that operating officials are provided guidance in sufficient detail to implement their appropriate portion of the budget. The accounting section shall establish records which are in consonance with the budget and this ordinance and the appropriate statutes of the state of North Carolina. If it's adopted, it's the 24th day of June 2020. 25th day of June 2020. I did see one typo in there that we need to correct.
I made that correct, if you don't mind.
So we will have to update that.
We have to keep.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adopt the ordinance as presented by our county manager with the one typo correction and by our finance officer, and would thank them, and with the assistance of our attorney.
Have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Have a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. All against, raise your right hand the same. Okay. It passes 3-2.
Thank you, Mark, for your work on it, everyone involved.
Fly safe, Wayne.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to, I'm glad we got this over.
Me too.
Me too. I'd like to say one thing. I appreciate all of you, each and every one of you, going through this budget, and your support, questions. And I'd like to say thank you to all the department heads. I'd like to extend a special thanks to Carrie Ledford and to Mandy and to the IT guys for making sure everything here has gone well. So, but I would just say thank you. And
Well, Mark, thank you for, you came on board at a very difficult time, and you've helped us navigate some difficult waters that were way more difficult than anyone ever anticipated when we hired you. We knew we had some challenges. We got some extras on top of it. Lucky you. But I appreciate appreciate you and look forward to, and what I would suggest is next year, instead of having a 5+ hour meeting at the last minute, that we start this process much earlier and get back to a budget cycle like we've done in the past. And I understand extenuating circumstances. It's not to throw daggers at anybody or anyone else at all. And I too, even if your department was one of the departments that I picked on tonight, it does not mean that I have any less confidence in any of our department heads or their employees. I'm just trying to look out for the taxpayers of Madison County, and I thank you gentlemen for giving me the opportunity to state such.
Yeah, I think we've worked very well together on this, guys. I think we have a good budget. We know going forward, we're gonna have a lot of challenges. We've been given a couple of our own marching orders tonight, including the process. But some of the things we discussed about the landfill and the other things about payroll and personnel and the things we need to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we follow up on those things in this year. And make sure that, because we know those are important, and we know they need to be addressed. And so as the year goes along, we need to remind ourselves what we also pledged as part of this for the future, okay? And I hold myself, and I think we all need to hold ourselves to that. We need to make sure we come out of this budget year in as good a shape as we can possibly be, because any practical reality is this budget will probably be one hell of a lot easier than the next one we may have to do. So we have to be prepared for that. So,
Gentlemen, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hey, Wayne,
Good
we
night.
want to vote.
We did.